and exploring the unanswered questions that keep us coming back for more. I'm your host, Marv, and I want to thank you for joining me today. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can find links to my PayPal and Cash App in the description. Now, let's get into today's topic.
Breaking all the patterns, facts and theories, clues and controversy. Join the journey, uncovering the mystery. This is beyond the evidence, where justice prevails, with Marv leading the way. Truth never fails. Now get ready for this live stream. Super chat, highlight your message. Don't fall victim to the irrelevance. Hit that like, share, subscribe to Marv's Beyond the Evidence. And mysterious world of the missing murder. You seek the answers, but you never know what you'll find last. When you rewind, this is the True Crime Rewind podcast. True Crime Rewind. This is the True Crime Rewind podcast.
Good evening, everyone. How is everyone doing? Glad to see you all here. Anthony will be joining us soon. If anybody else wants to come on, you are more than welcome, as tonight is a call-in and Q&A for the Delphi Murders. Let's see. Sweet Revenge. I hate to tell you this, but Ron Logan, well, not according to 12 jurors, he didn't. True Crime Talk with Frank Meister. Good evening. Phil, how are you? Hello, you two bad actors. Hi, Phil. Hello, Jill. Welcome. Sensei, nice to see you. Gibbos, about time I've seen you here. Sweet Revenge, problem is he has an alibi, a tight one at that. Let's see here. Gambizi, nice to see you here. Judy, how are you? Andrea says, hey, good evening, everyone. Remember, everyone has the right to their own opinions, and please be respectful to each other in the chat. Have a great show. And she's right. Let me see here. You've never caught a live stream of mine, but you're here now, right? So that means you're finally catching one. TLS, nice to see you. Cyber Warrior, love your profile picture. We are going to start talking about Flora here soon. Hi, Karen. Please tell me you won't get a true new trial. We'll go over all that. What do you mean it looks smudged? That's the best I can do right now. Stephanie says Ron Logan didn't kill anyone. Justice Jean, hello, hello. All right, so tonight is call-in question and answer. I am putting the link in the chat for you to call in. When you come behind the scenes, you have to show your face on camera, and then I'll give you the option to turn the camera off. But we've had issues with sex parts being shown and everything else when we just bring people on. So it's just to make sure that you are who you are and there's no funny business. So, Frank Meister. Hello there, my dear.
What's going on, peoples?
How you doing?
Oh, I've had a good day. I've been cooking all day since there was nothing going on, so I took my time away from the case and made me a cheesecake. I made baked spaghetti. Like I really need the shit, right?
Yeah. We are actually we're actually starting to remodel the bathroom.
Oh yeah.
Bathroom. So we're trying to get sizes and all that good stuff
smoking on your
situated, and yeah. So it's kind of crazy here.
Why is my shit looking like that? I don't have my backdrop on. Hold on. Let me get in here and turn that sucker off. Oh, settings. Virtual background. None. There we go.
Got it now?
Yeah.
So, Frank, I've been thinking about all of this crap that was given by the defense, and once again, it just seems like they're playing games to me.
It is. It's just their way to try to. They're going to throw anything that, like we've all talked about in the past. They're just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. And we all know that Judge Gold had already prohibited them from bringing in Ron Logan, which is ridiculous, you know. I mean, if they were going to do Ron Logan, they should have done it from the beginning because they had a better chance of getting him in there and getting something done with it instead of the Odinist.
But I don't know if you've listened to all of the interviews on the murder sheet is done with the prosecutors and law enforcement and stuff. But what I'm starting to understand is that Ron Logan and the Odinist theory were investigated big time.
Well, yeah, we knew that from Jump Street that they investigated Ron Logan at the time.
Right.
We knew that.
But even the Odinist theory, they said that they investigated that and talked to so many people that it took 1 to 2 years to accumulate all of that information.
Yeah, of course.
This isn't just something that they nilly-willy did. They thoroughly investigated.
Right.
And could not find a nexus or connection.
Well, I think the major issue is because there was no recording. Well, if you will, we were there at the trial, and Holman made it very clear. We don't have to record these interviews if we're at their house.
Right.
They don't have to do that. It was just something they did, and it's not their fault. Technology is not their forte. We all know that. That's not what cops deal with, you know.
Well, and now I'm starting to understand how many issues technology causes with these law enforcements. It's not just Delphi.
Right.
It's happening in the Kieran Reed case, which is huge.
Oh, man, you talked about that the other day.
They lost the video footage so the defense doesn't even have it. That's a big brouhaha. Even in the Idaho 4, they've had some technology issues. I mean, it's all over that this happens.
Right. It's just not in Indiana.
Until they use this technology more and more and more and work out all the bugs and learn all the ins and outs, this stuff is going to happen. And unfortunately, once they learn that technology, it's going to be enhanced and they're going to have to learn it all over again.
Right.
It's just going to be a repetitive habit that they're going to have to be in, a cycle, So it's crazy.
Sweet revenge. You're way off base with Ron Logan. Trust us on this. You're way off base.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to Ron Logan, now I asked you about this because I was really confused. In one of the Facebook groups, somebody had mentioned one of Ron Logan's barns burning down. And I said to myself, no, a barn never burned down, but a shed did.
Yeah. It was one of the sheds right near his property. It wasn't actually on his property. It was near his property. It was one of them sheds that everybody talked about when Doug Carter brought it up in the presser.
Yeah, and it wasn't a fairly big shed either.
No, it wasn't.
But it did burn down a few days after the girls were found.
Mm-hmm.
Did we ever find out what the cause of that was?
No. I think at that point in time, and as far as and going along with this case, it was basically a nothing burger to us. We didn't really care what happened to the barn, how it burnt down. It was nothing to us. It was nothing that we could use.
Right.
So we just all dropped it. I mean, you think about it, where the girls were dropped off at, and they walk up, and to the left where that farm field is, you see all that old equipment. There used to be an old barn there. It was basically all falling down and stuff. So.
Yeah, and now it's gone because they got rid of it.
Right.
I don't deny that Ron Logan was an old pervert, but just because he was an old pervert doesn't mean he did this.
Well, you got to give us a definition of old pervert. He might have been 75, 76, 77 years old. He might just like younger women. That doesn't mean he was a pervert toward children or anything like that. Ron Logan's ex, who said she has more reasons not to defend him, said he's afraid of heights as well as he was way too. Oh, that's a definite. What the hell's calling?
Well, Logan wasn't a nice guy. Yeah, I agree.
Who's calling in somewhere? I hear it on my end.
I love it, Ron Logan. You people don't even know me.
Oh, give me a few minutes. I'll be right back.
All right. You're good. Go ahead. If anybody else would like to come on, like I said, if you come, you're going to come back in the green room. You have to show me your face on camera so I know it's a real person. Otherwise, once you come, right before you come on, you can turn your camera off. He may have been a pervert, but he's not the person who killed Abby and Libby. Richard Allen is who killed them. TLS, sorry, Ron Logan, we'll do better. Yep. So yeah, I've been thinking about it. The whole Ron Logan confession. I don't know how they're going to get around that and be able to introduce that because Ron Logan can't defend himself. He passed away and he can't defend himself in any way. So I don't know if that's even a possibility to bring that in. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Do you think the appellate court is going to take Ricky Davis's confession, stating Ron Logan confessed to him, into consideration? Good to see you, Sean. So I'd like to hear from everybody in here as far as what they think. And this is the sad part, is that, you know, after all these years, this man...
Susie's on her way over.
Oh, okay. You know, this man went through hell and back right off the bat because these girls were found on his property. He did go back to jail for breaking his probation and driving. And I think that is why he asked his cousin to lie, not the fact that he was trying to hide that he
was trying to hide the fact that he was driving. Is
right.
Basically what it boils down to.
Well, he didn't want to do 4 years. I don't blame him, but
right. But what they did is they charged him as a habitual offender is what happened.
Right.
And that's automatic sentence. Usually it's 10 years in the state of Indiana, but they only gave him 4. But he only did like a year and a half. And that's all he did.
Yeah.
Put him on house arrest the rest of the time.
TLS says, I say no. Why wasn't this brought up to go on trial? I agree. DMV's absolutely not. It's hearsay, not to mention prison is a business. Dead guys don't pay. Yeah. Quizzical Girl says probably not, as it's not new evidence.
Well, we all knew that from day one.
His record of fraud. Ricky Davis has a very extensive record.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mustang says that confessed is hearsay. Okay. And then Shane says, I don't think Ricky word will be even entertained. How could it be? Exactly.
Well, I think the reason why they didn't call him to the trial because he was on the list as a witness because they knew it was hearsay. I mean, Ron Logan wasn't there to rebuke it.
Right. They put the transfer order in to get him there. Why didn't they pull that trigger and bring him in?
I believe it's because they knew it was hearsay and they couldn't bring Ron Logan in to corroborate anything he said.
Yeah. You know, the same thing with Keegan Kline. It was just for publicity, basically.
Yeah. Keegan Kline's good at it, though. He's good at making money from where he's at with the lies and shit he does.
Yeah. Especially since the info is out there that him and his girlfriend just wanted the reward money. Never once said it was fact, just mentioned they wanted the money. Yep. Might as well take Keegan's word about his father and theirs keep. No difference. Yeah. It's amazing how people just assume that this confession by Ron Logan is the truth, and then all the confessions, the 61 confessions by Richard Allen,
is false.
Are a lie and a false. I don't get that.
I mean, I was lucky. I mean, I looked at the note from Ricky Davis. You know why I looked at it. I told you why I looked at it. I wanted to see if it had been altered, if there was another word put in there that we didn't know about. And then I went back to the Ryan tip, and I started reading. I said, hold on. Let me go back to Ricky's note. I looked at the date on that sucker, and I went back to the Orion tip. I said, hold on now. This is something wrong here. This tip was turned in back in May, and this is dated for June. Hold on.
Yeah.
So that's when I started to deep dive and do what I had to do. What's up, Greeno?
You're muted.
Hey, fathead, take your mute off.
He might be getting set up yet. They wouldn't let them talk about Logan in the trial. There's a reason for that.
Mm-hmm.
So he was one of the defense. Yes, he was.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually put a transfer order in for Ricky, but the defense never actually had him transferred to put his testimony on record.
There.
Yeah. Anytime someone says hearsay, it makes me think of Johnny Depp case. Yep.
I mean, it's when you look at the hearsay rule 801, it's self-explanatory. Very self-explanatory. There's no way you can confuse what it means.
Right. And then as far as the Weber video, the van video footage, I am not convinced that the minutes of the 44, the 244, I'm not convinced that timestamp is right.
I mean, it really doesn't make a difference. Honestly, it don't. Because it still follows in the timeline of when the girls died, which they said between 2:30 and 3:30. It really doesn't make a difference.
And now is the defense conceding that, yes, he saw a white van or a van?
That's a good question.
They're playing games and they're contradicting themselves in it. That's what's sad. And the fact that they're putting so-called evidence on YouTube, on a YouTube channel, no other attorney does that crap.
That shows you their unprofessionalism.
Right. And once again, I'm sorry, but if I was paying attention to this case, this trial, this defense team this whole time, I would not recommend anybody use them.
And man, it's almost like we know more about this case than they do.
And that's what's sad. Yes.
And they're attorneys. And like you said, that's pretty bad. When you got two attorneys that are supposed to be top notch that know very little about the case, and YouTubers know more about the case than they do.
Right. It's just, it's one thing after another, them showing their incompetence,
right,
their unprofessionalism, and that they're almost in it just for the fame. It's not about the girls. It's not about Richard Allen. It's not about getting Richard Allen even acquitted or a new trial or anything. It's just this bogus bullshit that they've been doing now for how many years?
Well, I noticed it with Baldwin from day one of trial. It was almost like he was defeated. Like he didn't even want to be there. Like he knew Ricky was guilty and he had to be there anyway. That's the way I felt when you look at him and see the way he was carrying himself, and
For me, it was, I can't remember who he was cross-examining, but he could not even form his questions properly as an attorney. Nick McClellan kept objecting and objecting and objecting.
Yeah, he kept saying the same question in a different format, and Nick kept catching it.
Right. And then when he would try to rebut a witness, he wouldn't even do that properly. And Nick would object, and it would get sustained. And finally, after so many objections and being sustained, he just sat down and stopped. He gave up.
That's what I mean. It was just like he didn't even want to be there. There was several times when some of the witnesses were barking back at him, and he would just look at Judge Gold like, "Are you going to do something?" And Judge Gold would just sit there like, "You deserve it," in her own mind.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And, and I was waiting for the moment. I really was. was in my head, I felt that Richard Allen was guilty on all these charges, that he did it, but I still gave the defense something and said, come on, defense, bring it. Bring it.
We were waiting for that moment, and
get your act together and bring it. And it never happened.
The guy that's pretending to be Doug Carter, there's nobody that's angry.
No.
It's honestly, it's just funny, the ridiculousness that the defense is pulling in this case.
Lynn, great question. Does Brad have to get out of his truck to unlock and open the gate? No. The woman that owns the gate testified in trial. She has wanted to lock that gate.
Teresa Lieber.
But she didn't because Brad and his mother did not want it locked.
That's why people were entering the property at nighttime so easily. Remember when they would come up to private drive and Brad would meet him with his gun?
Yeah. So no, the gate has never been locked. Self-serving recognition and delusions. Yeah, you got that right. I don't understand why y'all are so angry. I'll tell you why. And Doug, if you were the real Doug Carter, you would understand that what these families have gone through has been horrendous.
Right.
Their children were murdered, first of all. If that wasn't bad enough, they've been accused of doing this themselves, of lying, of protecting the police, all this stuff.
I mean, and the only thing I could say to those people out there that are back in the defense, what if it was your child?
Yeah.
What if your child was murdered and all of a sudden all these people came at you? Oh, you're the one that killed them, or they were killed because of you. These people don't think that whatsoever.
And if that's not bad enough, the defense team allowed those crime scene pictures to be removed one way or another from their offices because they did not lock it up when they were done and left the room. And because of that, those pictures are now all over the internet.
And not to add to your point there, Baldwin should have known better. Should have never been left out on that conference table in the first place.
That's what I'm saying. They should have been locked up.
Well, what I mean is once you're done viewing them or whatever you're doing for that day, they should have been boxed up and put away somewhere, not just laid out like that. But I understand we make mistakes, but this is not a mistake. And we know this because they were using YouTubers to get their case out there is what they were doing.
Yeah. So, yeah, and like Becky said in her, what do you call it? At the sentencing.
Impact statement.
This is now generational. They cannot go on social media now without having the chance of those pictures popping up. The younger generation of their family and the generations to come when they grow up and they're on the internet, they're going to have to see that.
Can I go answer to something real quick? Doug Carter, Sarah, here's the thing. Why don't you ask Shane why he was sending...
Oops, sorry.
He was sending them pictures to his friends. Shane who? I hope you're not referring to me because I didn't send them out to nobody. I got them one time and I deleted them like I was asked to.
Someone needs to bring the many dirty deeds. Leaks. the photos badly gave Mitch that resulted in a death. Yeah.
And it was blatantly obvious it was done intentionally because I attended the Mitch Westerman hearings, and he did what was called a diversion program. He completed whatever community service, what he ever had to do, and once he completed it, they dropped all the charges and removed from his record. Now, it did come to find out that his attorney is an attorney out of Baldwin's office.
Right.
Now, tell me that wasn't a setup.
Hey, I have said that the police made mistakes.
We all agree on that.
Yeah.
And there's not a law enforcement agency in this country that doesn't make mistakes, period.
And Yvonne makes a good point. Mistakes don't mean cover up.
Right.
Let's see.
Where'd Greeno go?
I don't know.
Is it because I'm up here?
No, I think he might have stuff going on. Something isn't working.
Excuse me, Mr. Doug Carter. I did not send them photos through the email because I didn't get them through email. Thank you very much. Don't know where you're getting your information from, but you better go back and check on that. Do you think that LE would have known that I was sending them through email? Trust me. They would have known and they would have contacted me. And they never did because I never sent any photos out to anybody. So I don't know where you're getting your information.
Yeah, I can guarantee you the photos were not sent through email.
No, I got mine through what they call a spoof account text. Is how they send them to me.
You would think the prosecution would prosecute the person that had stolen them. I wonder why they let him go with a slap on the wrist.
He really didn't even get a slap on the wrist because there's nothing to show that he was even charged with it.
Right, it's all been expunged because he
took that
course or whatever.
Yeah, diversion program.
Yeah, Stephanie, that's a great question. Where did that $40,000 go? The defense collected.
Oh, I could tell you where that went. Hennessy drank that up. I hate to say that, but you know how many times he was in court drunk or hungover?
Yes, I do have the photos. And no, I am not sharing them.
Those suckers are put away lock and key. Believe me.
The defense didn't know as much as we did because they were representing other clients elsewhere.
But they got people working for them to make sure they get the information they needed.
I'm not booting you. I'm not booting you.
Oh, we're not doing anything, Dad. We're just trying to tell you wherever you're getting your information from, they're misleading you, bud.
Yep. Curious contrarian. Can't talk tonight. Thank you so much for the $4.99. Smash the like, subscribe, share, and hit the bell.
And whoever this EIOSHSSA down toward the bottom, will you please delete that comment?
Down by the bottom. I'm not to the bottom yet. Okay, hang on.
Because what you guys don't know, y'all are going to laugh when my civil case is over with. I'm going to laugh at all of you.
Frank, why am I not seeing this?
It's EIOHSSA.
Oh, I got it.
I would just block that person. I believe that's probably prop for somebody in there or Raffy Dick.
All right, guys, we're here to help answer any questions. If anybody wants to come on and voice their opinion, You're more than welcome. I will put the link in the chat again. Like I said, the only rule is that while you're in the back room in the green room, you have to show me your picture, and then you can turn your camera off.
I can do up a video showing Frankmeister's email to a couple people, photos attached. You probably got the wrong photos, dude. I'm telling you that right now because you're lying out your teeth. I never had any photos sent to my email. She's probably talking about little Frankie. He's the one that started all that crap.
Yeah.
Sending them to everybody in his email.
And I can guarantee you that
if I had him in my email with sending them out to everybody, I can guarantee Holman and all of them, I'd have been in their office or they'd been on the phone with me asking where I got them from. Guarantee. And it never happened. So whatever you're trying to do, Doug Carter, you need to go somewhere else with that BS, bro.
I can tell you that out of the photos that I received, that was nothing compared to the actual photos. I still have nightmares.
There he is.
After seeing there he goes again.
There he is.
Oh, he's still having microphone issues.
That's what it's
I still have nightmares from seeing all those crime scene photos and the autopsy photos.
Like I said, Doug, you're lying. There ain't no emails between me and Fig with crime scene photos.
Okay, I saw some questions. Let me see here. What errors need to be fixed? So, I wouldn't really call them errors, Frank. They're stating that the phone had a jack entered into it for 5 hours. Somebody moved Abby's body,
took the phone,
moved the shoe, put in the port jack into the port without moving the phone to show any movement on the extraction or anything, without moving the phone. Then 5 hours later went back, moved Abby's body again, picked up the shoe, unplugged the jack, put the shoe back, and Abby's body back. Do any of you believe that happened? No. That's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And then the other thing that they want is the fact that they want the Ron Logan confession to Ricky Davis admitted because he said box cutter in the confession supposedly, and the guy that did the autopsy at the end said it could have been a box cutter.
What about what was I getting ready to say? Oh, the polygraph results were in the motion.
I don't think the defense knew what that was. I don't.
Oh my God.
I absolutely don't think they knew that was polygraph results. Because how stupid are you to want to try to get this in and then put the polygraph showing that he failed with that? Dumb.
Yeah. That just shows they're not going back on their work and dotting the I's and crossing the T's before they file anything.
No, and I can guarantee you with that, as many terabytes as they received, they did not, and I repeat this, they did not thoroughly read through all of that evidence.
Right. They were picking and choosing. I mean, they were leaving out the pertinent stuff and going for the little bitty stuff to see if it'll stick.
They couldn't even refer to the bridge as the right thing or the private drive as the right thing. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of misspelled words, punctuations were wrong in it. I'm just like, and these are guys that are supposed to be professional.
You know how we all describe to you the bridge, right? Start out on the north side, coming off the Freedom Bridge. You're walking down the trail, past the Mears little gate where they parked, go to the bridge, walk across the bridge, and on your left side, that is where bridge guy says down the hill.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When you have an attorney that says, I'm walking across the bridge, and if you turn around and on your right hand side, that's where they went down the hill.
He didn't know his sense of direction, is what you're saying.
No, instead of making them just stand straight looking at the south side and go down to your left, he had to turn around and make it confusing about going down the right side when everybody has heard about us describe this. They were trying to be tricky and say they went down on the other side or something, but it clearly showed how inept they were and how they couldn't even describe that right.
And they didn't even admit in this new filing nothing about the bullet either.
No. So does that mean they concede that it was his bullet there?
Well, they admitted in the Frank's memorandum, the very first one, that the bullet was found on the 14th between the two girls, contradicting Barbara McDonald's statement. It was found weeks later. And what you guys got to also remember in that Frank's motion, or memorandum, I should say, but it was the very first one. They were basically saying he was not at the crime scene. Okay, we hear that argument, but why didn't you deny he was bridge guy? It was never mentioned that he was not bridge guy through that whole thing.
No, they never denied it.
Right.
Their whole thing is he wasn't there at that time.
And you heard what Attorney Oj said when she was on MATA. Do I have to read it?
What was that?
Give me a second. Hold on. Give me a second. I'll read it. She admitted it was Rick Allen.
The way she worded her stuff, she messed up.
Let me find it here.
This is not appeal stage, only a motion to correct errors. Judge Gold will have to rule on that. They're going to have a hearing.
Okay. At 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 34 seconds into the live stream with Bob Mata, Attorney Aju says, with the phone, someone is interacting with that phone when they admit Rick Allen wasn't there and he never went back.
Say that again.
With that phone, someone is interacting with that phone when they admit Rick Allen was not there or wasn't there because he never went back.
Because he never went back?
That's what I'm saying. She admitted that he was at the crime scene at one point in time.
We don't know what the questions were on the polygraph. All we know is that
the answers were he failed miserably.
Yep, he failed miserably. And we know from past polygraphs and myself looking at polygraphs, I'm assuming the questions had to do something with the confession of wrongdoing.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see.
The questions are irrelevant, whatever your name is. And quit calling me Shane.
None of the bullet points in the correct errors motion belonged in that type of motion. Even lawyer Lee admits that. She said correct errors is for procedural errors and not evidence. Right.
All this stuff, the procedural error that they're doing, they've already filed with the appellate court before, and it all got kicked out. You guys, some of you people need to understand how the appellate court works. This stuff does not go straight to the justices that sit the bench. That's not how it works. It goes to their administrative assistant, who is a judge and determines if it should be seen by the justices on the bench. A lot of these errors that they've already filed before has been kicked out by the appellate court.
Oh my goodness. How many times do we have to explain this to you guys?
Can I say something real quick?
Yes.
Before you get into that, I'm almost 100% positive when they brought those witnesses in or to get their statement, they threw a picture out on the table of BG and said, "Who is that?" I guarantee that's what they did, and they have said that's the guy we saw on the trail.
Right, and BG was identified by his clothing, not his face.
He had a face covering on.
So if you're in court with Richard Allen and you know that he's identified by the clothing that was in the video that Liberty took at 2:13, why would you ask the witnesses if that is the man on the bridge? When they clearly said they didn't see his face.
Because he kept his head down. He had a face mask.
The clothing.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the defense could have filed for appeal for even official intent to appeal and hand Mr. Allen over to the appellate attorneys. I agree. What I was advised is that this motion to fix these errors is common and does come before the appeal.
Well, yeah, it's going to go in front of the appellate court, but it's going to go in front of the administrative assistant. And the same errors they did before. That's the same errors they filed before back in, what was it, November last year? And they all got kicked out. Or it was after we went to the Supreme Court, and they filed again with the appellate court, and they kicked it all out. You're not going to be able to get a copy of the polygraph. I'll tell you that right now, or the questioning.
The point is that he failed.
Right.
And they're not going to ask him questions about something other than the confession.
Once again, they couldn't identify BG as Richard Allen because they couldn't see his face. And I just explained what the scenario most likely would have happened. They put a picture of BG in front of them and asked them who he was, and they would have said, "That's the guy we saw on the trail." They wouldn't have said, "That's Ricky Allen."
Hello, Cincy Kid. How you doing?
Well, names I've never heard or seen before.
Oh, yeah, I got a bunch of...
There he is. Is your mic working, Anthony?
He's trying. They do not have to defend against the accusation of being bridge guy. The prosecution had to prove it was him. Jury thought he was BG according to the juror. Exactly. Yeah, Cindy, why in the world would they do a polygraph with irrelevant questions? Exactly. Let's see here.
You hear about Tony Klein told Rick Snee not to ever call him again?
Oh, really?
Yep. Rick admitted to it on his live.
All right. Indy City. All of that happened during a trial that has been resolved. None of these filings include what should be included, but rather more evidence. It makes no sense, but a lot of people buy it. Unfortunately, yes. There was DNA found at the crime scene, but not enough of it to make a profile.
And it was also mixed in with the girl's blood.
Right. So that is why they did not get a DNA profile and figure out whose DNA it was. Can you can try, but I doubt that they're going to release that. Hell, we're having trouble getting things that we want now. No, they did not mislead the jury. They said the man that they saw was the man in the video wearing the clothes.
They never had the witnesses on the stand and said, do you see the man you saw on the bridge? They never asked any of those witnesses that, period.
And the only person that said they were on the bridge at that time was Richard Allen. Came from his mouth.
Rick Allen would not, he refused a polygraph. Yes, you're right, Indy Cindy.
Let's see here.
Kelly Aaron's in the house.
Hello, Kelly.
Exactly. Quizzica, whatever that is. He admitted to seeing the same three girls, and those three girls admitted to seeing him. You can't get no more clarification than that.
Let's see.
It's okay if you want to use the word theory, but you got to back it up with evidence. And if you want that theory to become a truth, you got to have evidence to back it up. And we live and die by the burden of proof of beyond a reasonable doubt. And so if you can prove a theory beyond a reasonable doubt, then to me it becomes a truth in the court of law. And until then, it's just a theory, and that's just what it is. It's an idea of what you thought happened. And so I don't have a problem with people throwing that word around, but where's the evidence to back it up?
There's been so much time where neither side had an opportunity to say much. It was under the gag order, obviously, for quite some time. What to you did the gag order mean?
Gag order to me was just a reiteration or a re-emphasis on the rules of professional conduct that we're bound by. And that is that you should not put out anything in the public that's going to try to taint the jury or elicit a response from the public. And we're bound by those rules. And the gag order is just an emphasis of that to say, don't talk about this case in the public. Don't put out press releases that try to, condition the public to whether Richard Allen was guilty or innocent. And mainly that was done so that we can get a jury that's not tainted or biased. I really had a fear that we were, regardless of how many people that we subpoenaed in to be for jury duty, that we weren't going to find 12 that hadn't heard about this case.
There you go.
So basically what he's telling everybody is that once they have an evidence, they would have to have probable cause to file charges. It's all about evidence. If they don't have an evidence, they don't have probable cause to issue a warrant. And somebody made a good point. Heather Brown said innocent people don't confess 61 times or they don't turn themselves in.
Right.
Mr. Gravitz in the house.
All right, everybody. I'm going to drop the link again. You can call in, say your piece.
Once you pin it up there, so you don't have to keep putting it up there, just pin it up there.
Oh, yeah, I should, huh?
Yeah. Once
Pin
you
message.
start.
There we go. Pinned it.
Dan, thanks for the $4.99 super sticker.
Thank you. All right. Didn't already have photos of the bridge in that box on his bedside table with a bullet? He had photos of the bridge in a photo album.
And we're going to correct this real quick. The memorial box, the memory box, it was found in his closet, not on the nightstand.
Right. Larry, no, they never mentioned anything about digging in his yard.
Nope, they sure didn't. And Andy Cindy says, I don't think people understand that trials are about who tells a better story. You are right on that, but you got to have the evidence to put a story together.
Right. You have to look at everything combined like a puzzle.
Exactly. Oh, he had a photo album. We even saw the picture of his daughter on the bridge.
Bear Jew, did I miss a question? All I saw was so did GH.
Yeah, I see through. I had the same question. Where did he change clothes, or where did he strip the other outer layers off? And I had two good points. I said, what if he had rented or had a storage unit at the Harvest store? Does that make sense to you? Where he could strip those outer clothing off and then just walk back to his car to why no blood was in the car or no DNA of the girls?
Well, wouldn't they have seen him on the up close then?
Well, from my understanding, there was only one camera at that Harvester store. He could have walked around behind the back, as far as we know.
So much quizzical, girl.
Good.
Yeah, that's true. Kelly, how are you?
Long time no see.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Cool.
What's going on?
Hey, it's good to see you guys and just hear this continuing saga go onward.
Right.
I do apologize in court. It was just referred to as a van.
Van, exactly.
Not a bike van.
I hear Frank talking.
Yes, ma'am, you sure do. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, am I in there?
Yeah, you're in here.
Can you hear me, Kelly?
I added Randy also.
Hey, Frank.
It seems like there's a delay on my end or something.
There's a delay on Marv's end too.
The question you were asking about him changing clothes.
Yeah.
He would go through the back way around, bypass that camera in the front. So he still can walk around.
Yeah.
Hey, let me go back out and try to come back in. It's so delayed.
Okay.
So basically, he would go around the back side, come back up towards the front to bypass that camera.
Right. Back out on the 300.
Yeah.
To the CPS building, yes.
Because there was no train cars there. And because I was thinking, well, if he got rid of the clothes, he could put it in those train cars.
Right.
But since there was no train cars there that day, then yeah, he could have a storage unit, or like Curly said, he could have changed clothes in the wooded tree area.
Right.
Over there. And if they didn't look up in the wooded tree area, there could be evidence there still. He said, well, it could be.
Could be.
Who is that?
There could still be a bullet down on the ground on the south side of the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he did say he could remember. He thought he had lost the bullet by racking it.
And they didn't know. I don't think they knew about that.
Right.
And and maybe they looked and they couldn't find it. Who knows? I don't know for sure.
You almost have to
I
take a
think,
minute.
I think I'm back, you guys.
All right.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Frank, can you handle things for a minute? I have to go to the bathroom.
Yes, ma'am. Sure can.
Thank you.
Hi, Frank. Hi, Randy.
Hey,
Hi,
Eric.
Kelly. And how are you doing?
Good. I do want to ask you guys a couple things. I always talk to Marv about these two particular things. Is Frank, were you in court the day they showed all those really weird knives? Did you see those?
I was in court every day.
So were they like, if we were to walk in there and see that, would we immediately think, what the hell with all these knives?
They didn't have no knives there. It was just brought up by Dr. Core, who was the forensic pathologist, and he gave his opinion. He said several months after the autopsy, it bugged him on what kind of weapon was used. So he would go home to his garage and pull out knives and look at them and stuff like that.
Yes.
And then he said he saw a box knife and he was like, this could be possibly the weapon, but he didn't say definitely the weapon.
Well, that's what I mean, is the ones that were in, I guess that's what I'm sorry, I didn't clarify. The ones that were in Rick's garage and in the kitchen and in the house.
Oh, all those knives? Yeah, I know what you're talking about
Yes.
now. They didn't have all
Yes.
those. The only thing that they had of Richard Allen in the courtroom was the actual gun. It's the only thing they had there.
And so, and another thing I always talk to her about is, gee whiz,
Give me
the
just
one
a second,
photo.
Kelly. Give me just a second. Greeno says, here I am. I'm in the studio. Just can't hear me, but I can see y'all. All right, Greeno. Go ahead,
He's
Kelly.
here. No, I was going to say, I always talk to her about, that phone he had that day. Well, gee, I guess we'll never really know what all he was doing on there, because I'm still stuck just on the part of, did he know they were gonna be there? Was he already doing to them what Kagan was?
I don't think he knew who was going to go there, but I think he just wanted. He searched out certain girls he saw on the trail. Maybe it would be one that nobody left them two alone. They were by themselves, and no one else was around.
Yeah, because Randy, that's what I think about, is that very moment he makes eye contact with them. What does he say to them that scares them? That at the very end, you know that they've already had an encounter with him, and I guess we'll always wonder, what the hell was that encounter that they thought he was creepy? Did he just look at him with his buggy eyes? Did he say something? Because when they get to the end, they're already scared.
But the question is, there's several of the girls that he could have got before those living in.
Exactly. And again, what was he doing on the phone? He didn't want anybody to see.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And you got to also remember, we don't know if he was targeting Abby and Libby. Okay.
That's it. Exactly, Frank. God, that's it.
Because Bessie Blair could have been his target.
She was out there by herself.
By herself.
Yeah.
And then when she turned around and walked away and was heading back toward the Freedom Bridge, he was like, damn, I can't follow her back because I'll be seen. So he was.
You know what?
Can you hear me?
You know what?
You guys,
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hang on. You guys got to remember one thing. He was
lying in wait,
agitated, pissed off, whatever you want to call it, when he left his mom's house.
Yes.
And everybody's wanting to know why he got a six-pack. My opinion is he was going to numb himself because he knew what he was about to do, and he had to numb himself.
I believe it was an opportunistic crime.
Yeah.
and I believe that
Planned it to be the two of them. They just happened to be there, be the right age, get positioned to where he could do what he wanted to do.
you know what
It was an entrapment on their.
Yeah.
He trapped them, is what he did.
Yes.
that was the very next thing I was actually in the process of creating, was a video about, did Richard Allen know they were going to be there? And in my opinion, I think that he was one of the users of that other account. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, because remember Kathy's brother died, and his wife got on the internet and said, I can't believe someone would hack my dead husband's accounts and talk to young girls.
Yeah.
So
I got a question I need to ask answer. Somebody said, Frank, a few weeks ago after the murders, it was brought out that Libby was almost decapitated. Was it ever brought up how any info was leaked from the beginning?
It was by searchers.
Yep.
That
And
body.
we proved that she was not even close to being decapitated, because the decapitation, the wounds would have been horizontal.
I want to explain to you guys how Libby's wounds were.
There you go. Yep.
I'm going to show you my neck. You have an X on this side with a gaping hole. You have the same thing in the middle. And you have the same thing on the opposite side. They were gaping holes.
Mm-hmm.
They were not slits. You know, the forensic pathologist specifically explained how you could tell that there was an X cut mark. And it's because of little lines on the gaping holes.
Mm-hmm.
He said he knows for a fact that was on the first two holes. He believes it was on the third hole because you could barely see the little slit. But he believes that she was actually cut 6 times.
Yep, that's exactly what he said.
There was no going past, it was all in the front, gaping holes. Now, Abby's was a slit, the jugular.
It was called a partial transection of her jugular vein.
You know what's so crazy is I'm sitting here in Phoenix, Arizona, listening to you guys after almost 8 years, and it's like your own imaginations kind of fill in the kooky, scary little moments. And now that we know a lot of what happened, it's still a lot of this, like, who did he make undress first, or what did he say to them, or it's just the scary little moments like that.
Well, I mean, if you think that, for the people that think there wasn't enough time for him to commit this crime, let's say, for example, that van is 244. Okay, then that means he had at least 30 minutes, almost 30 minutes with them right there in that area before he took them to wherever he was going to go. So that's plenty of time. People say, well, how could he just take him down the hill and get him undressed and switch their clothes and all that stuff in such a short amount of time? But really, it was about 2 hours worth of time that he had.
Because you can do a lot in 1 minute. You're right.
Exactly, Greeno. And it doesn't matter if the time on Brad Weber's van was 1:28 or if it was 2:44. The reasoning is because the coroner time of death was between 2:30 and 3:30. So the van fell in that time frame. So it really doesn't matter what time the van got there.
Yeah, because you really can't trust anything Rick has to say, because I kept thinking since the phone quit moving at 2:32, what if he already had them over there and could look across the creek and say, oh my God, here comes the van.
That's what we believe happened. That's what I think happened.
That's what I think happened. And they're just interpreting it wrong. They're saying that, well, when they asked Brad Weber during his interview, well, what time did you get home? I don't know, sometime around 2:25 to 2:30. Okay. Well, Richard Allen said he saw it, so it must have been around that time. Well, he was off 15 minutes. He didn't really know
and
exactly.
Just think about that. Just think about that. That's when he's like literally on the ground, putting those weird branches on him and literally doing the things that we've seen. Like, this person really did do this. And anybody that thinks that he didn't is just nuttier than hell. I'm done with the defense.
All right, hang on, everybody. Let's welcome Jinx to the conversation.
Oh, Lord, here we go. What's going up, Shorty?
Hi, yo. How are you doing?
I can't believe she's still up. But I will say what Kelly was saying about covering the girls. I think he was in the process of trying to conceal them, and that's when he got spooked, and that's why they were not even really concealed. He had to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, he had to stop whatever weirdness he was doing. Okay, all right, got to cover him up. Try to.
You got to remember, the prosecutor did say during trial and afterwards, there's a lot of things that we don't know exactly how it happened.
Yes, we have to fill that in our imagination.
But we don't. We don't have to fill it. People want to fill it, but we don't have to fill it. He did it, and Like that's where I think a lot of people get way too off on it, is they try to fill in things with things that don't fit and then make them fit.
Right.
You know?
That's what's been going on for this whole entire case. Everybody
Well,
adds
the
things.
sequence of events,
Well, you got to understand. You got to understand. There's evidence that we will never see. We're working with the evidence that we have in our possession.
And they won't give it.
There's still evidence sealed in this case that we have never seen.
Right.
Well, I think a part of that is what Libby might have been doing on her phone. That, like Detective Vito, God, I wish somebody would interview him and just say, "Look, what all did you find?"
They cannot.
You know,
They can't talk.
It doesn't matter at this point anymore, Kelly, what she was doing on her phone. We know she was talking to Keegan Kline.
Yep.
So were other girls. And a lot of
we don't know Keegan Kline. I would say we don't. I would say that we know that Keegan Kline created that account, but they said that they did think that 2 people were using it.
Yep.
And that one of them talked a lot about, from the Emily Ann profile, talked a lot about, would you be interested in my dad and stuff, pretending they were a young girl.
Right.
Well, if you think about that, man, that was the same age as Richard Allen at the time.
There's no dolls. There was no dolls of the crime scene.
No. There was
But
not.
why would they say he lied in wait for the girls if he didn't know they were going to be there?
That's exactly what I said before. That he was not lying in wait.
You already know somebody's coming.
Exactly. That's why I think that it's a possibility that he did use that account. They just can't prove it because they can't find the device.
Yeah, not having his phone.
Hang on, everybody.
Hold on, guys.
Let's let Jinx have a say here since she's up here.
Well, I just, you guys were talking about so many speculative aspects of the situation. And I would like to reiterate, like, how many victims of prolific serial killers in our history that we know of, do you know all the details of their victims?
No.
Like BTK, for example, or Dahmer, or
Richard Ramirez.
Oh my God.
I can go on and on and on.
So many, there are so many specific details that happen in a situation that I just keep thinking, like, people always say, if you know, haha, jokingly, like, you had to be there to know, they're obviously that's a true statement, like, so you can speculate all day and you can fill in the blanks in your little imaginations all you want to make things fit. Okay. Like, not everything is a perfect puzzle piece. You have to leave things out in the open. Like, well, I wasn't there. I don't know specifically, this happened to this person in these circumstances in this situation. And I'll never know the exact details. And there's an acceptance point to that. But at the end of the day, you still know that prolific serial killer did the crime, and that is their victim.
Right.
And so it blows my mind how people get lost in these rabbit holes and these speculation theories in their own mind and then try to make it into a reality.
Wow.
And I don't understand, because that's out of my wheelhouse, and I'll openly admit that it's out of my wheelhouse. But at the same time, it does not make it untrue. Period.
You know what? I knew why I fell in love with you.
Oh my God. That's it. I'm done. I love you guys except for Greeno. Bye.
Lady.
I love it.
I want to address something real
makes
quick.
sense, though, you guys. She makes great points.
Yes.
We're not going to know the ins and outs. There's only 3 people that know what happened that day. The 2 girls who can't speak and the man who will not tell us what he did.
You forgot another person. God Almighty. God Almighty.
Right.
But I do want to address something. A lot of people have asked, well, what about the tentacles Doug Carter was talking about? It's very self-explanatory. If you take one tentacle, they're looking at CSAM, which would be a rabbit hole, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another tentacle they were looking at. All the different stuff they were looking at in this case, drugs, Odinism. It's all separate tentacles, and each tentacle is a rabbit hole.
Yeah, many avenues.
Yes.
I agree. And the CSAM stuff is going to be part of the girl's legacy. This, it wasn't just Indiana that this got stopped. It was other states.
Yep.
It was all over. And because of this case, they said this was one of the largest CSAM cases that came out of Indiana. But like I said, the tentacles were everywhere in the United States and probably beyond. So
I think about when Kagan was in Las Vegas and he had his room padlocked and he had black felt on his windows. I mean, you don't live like that unless you're living a very dark life, and I just it's just so warped. He had so many people tricked and talked into giving him content for that website. It's just, I look back on it now, it's just so weird. The yellow app, all of it, that yellow app tip line. And like you said, we went down some deep bunny holes. That's for sure.
yeah, we did. We made it a lot more complex than what it really was.
Yeah.
In my mind.
Yeah, because in the end, it was a six-pack driven little weirdo.
Why was he in such a rush to get home? Got to think about that one too.
Before Kathy came home.
Right.
And why is that the only phone since 1998 that he doesn't have?
Right, and that's why I keep saying is what the hell was he really doing on there? And we can fill that in our own.
But we do know that through some of the emails email searches he was doing, kidnappings, and things in that nature.
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you guys about that, Marv or Frank. Do you remember? Wasn't it on Netflix? He was searching for most diabolical, gory films, or
yes.
So, yeah. Weird.
It's crazy. He was obviously a Jekyll and Hyde. Okay.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Well, I can't believe his sister and daughter got up there and said, no, he never did anything to me.
Well, let me tell you something about his daughter. During the whole thing, she would not make eye contact with Richard. Every time he would look at her, she would turn away while she was on the stand.
Yeah, that's because you guys, come on, they all knew. They had to know something. Well, I guess Marv was there. You guys were there when you saw Kathy walk into the room. I mean, did she seem like she had no idea? Like, why is that really you, or what was that like?
When on that interrogation video, when she said, "You didn't tell me you were on the bridge,"
right?
And then he started manipulating her. Oh, you know who I am. You know what kind of person I am. You know I wouldn't do this. And then her next question to him was, well, how did your bullet get out of the crime scene?
and then remember when Liggett and Cottrell was asked him showed him the picture of BG and said, is that you? And he said, if those girls took that picture, that's not me.
It's not me.
Girls, that was one of the weirdest answers I've ever heard.
What about when Holman was, they were doing the search warrant and he was sitting in the car and said, if we damage anything, you just got to fill this thing out and we'll reimburse you. And he said, it doesn't matter. It's over.
It's over.
I mean, an innocent man doesn't say things like that.
Right. Yeah. And then to go to the police station on that day that he was arrested and take out everything from his pockets. And
like he knew.
Like he
already knew.
He was going to
That was his confession right there.
It's just these small signals that show you his guilt without even him saying anything. And then to top it off, then add the things he said that don't make sense. I mean, come on.
Well, like I said before, I've done enough research and I have not found one case in the United States judicial system that a person's confessed 61 times and they've been false. Not one case.
No.
And no intimate details that only the killer would know about that van. I mean, get real.
And like I said once again, and I'll say it again, defense attorneys are trained to manipulate and lie to you. That's what they do. That's their practice.
What about when he was speaking to his mother on the phone and he was saying, trying to talk to her? What was that like? And was she like, no, you didn't do this? Is that what that was like?
Her and Kathy both would not actually let him finish what he was saying. As soon as he's like, I did it,
They'd hang up.
They would they would say, you didn't do this. This is because of your medication. This is because of this. I'm calling the attorney. They wouldn't let him finish.
God,
and
and
they
then
would
you
not
guys,
believe what he was saying.
And then at that sentencing, when he walked in there with that Bible, what a good prop.
And the glasses on top of his head, which he did not put over his eyes one time.
Right.
And how about
every day his glasses were like this on his head? I never saw him put his glasses on once.
And then what about when he would write something on a little sticky note and show it to one of the attorneys, and he would start eating it afterwards?
What
he would eat
it. What got me is this. When they were showing that crime scene and the drone footage of the area, he was zoned in, man, watching everything intently.
Royal, I'm reading your comments.
What about when Dr. Waller got up in the stand? I watched Richard the whole time. As soon as Dr. Waller was called to testify and she got up on that stand, Richard Allen leaned his head down and started shaking like, fuck, I'm fucked now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Royal Reed talked about Michael Asbrook.
Okay, I want to ask you guys something.
Your mic's off, Marv.
No, it's not.
Can you hear me?
Oh, it's not? Okay.
Where'd Greeno go this time?
you guys hear me?
He's continuing to have problems.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I wanted to ask you, when they get to the end of the bridge, do you really hear Abby say something like,
Hold on,
leave me
Royal.
up here?
Yes, she did say that.
And so that would indicate like they've already encountered him before they ever get to the end, because they don't want to be around him, right?
Oh, I got leaves in that notebook.
I guess Michael Asbrook wants to come on.
Let him up.
Michael, go ahead if you want to come on.
You got to show your face behind the scenes, so I don't know what he looks like, but okay, I'm trying to find the notebook because others have asked me.
I done put all that stuff away in the file, put it away so I didn't have to look at it anymore.
Oh my God, it's going to take me.
You're welcome, Royal.
Hello. Hi, Michael. You're on with us. We can't hear you, though. You're on mute.
Yep, I'm not on mute anymore.
Hey, Michael. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, and I'll be happy to explain to you why the van is and the timing of the van is really important.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, Nick McClelland, in closing argument, specifically argued, he said that 2:32 was when the phone stopped moving.
Yeah, that's right.
That was a hard fact, and he specifically argued, and from 2:18 to 2:25, the phone was not moving. And he specifically argued to the jury that it was the van that came by and startled Rick Allen And that's when he took the girls across the creek, south side to the north side, and that at 2:32 or thereabouts, Abby was dying and put the phone under her. And so if the van didn't come by until 2:44, that never happened.
What do you mean that?
And it means that Rick could not have been startled between 2:18 and 2:25, or after 2:25 when the phone started moving, because van didn't come by until after the girls were dead. And the legal point is, as made out in the motion to correct error, is that prosecution, nobody accused in the motion to correct error of Brad Weber lying. I actually think that Brad Weber may well think he came home between 2:25 and 2:30. He couldn't have, because of when he left work. And actually getting home at 2:44 makes a lot more, actually fits leaving work when he said he did. But he could not have startled Rick Allen between 2:25 and 2:32, which was specifically what Nick McClelland argued, without evidence to support it. And not only did he not have evidence to support it, he had evidence that he knew made Brad Weber's testimony false. And if the prosecution puts on evidence that it knows it's false, that is a violation of the due process clause under a very old case, very well established, 1953 case called Nafu versus Illinois. And the standard for reversing a conviction for that sort of thing is whether there's any reasonable probability the false evidence had an effect on the verdict. And Nick McClelland argued specifically that the van was a detail only the killer would know. But no, the van didn't. There was no van in Nick McClelland's version of what happened.
But it wouldn't be that Brad Weber is testifying falsely. It would be more that the prosecution
knows that Brad Weber's testimony is false or misleading.
Okay, so you're not saying
it's not about perjury. No. Okay. I think Brad Weber absolutely thinks he came home between 2:25 and 2:30.
And then the question is, Michael, why didn't the defense raise this during the trial? Raise question about this during the trial?
Yeah, why didn't they bring this video up in trial to basically perjure all this?
And as I've said elsewhere, that is a question for a different day. Question for now is why the prosecution didn't correct the testimony it knew was false.
But that's not a question for a different day. We're talking
it is about, ma'am, trust me. That's an ineffective assistance of counsel claim. That is for post-conviction. It is not raised in direct appeals. It is not raised in, you could try to shoehorn it and do a motion to correct error, but then you couldn't raise it. And it is a separate, an entirely separate question. There is an independent duty on the prosecution to correct false evidence it knows or should know is false.
Okay, so you're saying two different things. You're saying the prosecution's wrong because they didn't correct the error, but the defense is also wrong because they didn't present this evidence in trial.
I'm not saying anything about the defense. I'm absolutely not. I said it's a question for a different day.
Oh, okay. I guess I don't understand why it's a question for a different day.
Because the question of why the lawyers did it, whether they didn't raise it, that they were ineffective for not raising it, is not a question raised in the motion to correct error, and it has no effect on the prosecutor's independent duty to correct evidence it knows is false.
But you are saying that the defense was probably ineffectual because they didn't use this.
I'm not saying any such thing. I don't know what they knew. I don't know what they knew. I don't know what they were thinking.
But you just said that
I wasn't
they were
there.
ineffectual.
I didn't say any such thing. I said it raises the question of ineffective assistance of counsel, and that depends on what they knew, what they were thinking. I mean, it's a very fact-intensive question. I don't have those facts. We do have the fact that the prosecution knew or should have known about this video, and that Brad Weber's testimony was false, and they did not correct it.
Okay, let me ask you this, because the videos that go along with the evidence for this motion to correct errors, those videos are on your YouTube channel, aren't they?
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Okay.
I want to talk about the videos. There was nothing unprofessional about putting them up on YouTube. I don't have a YouTube channel. Those were unlisted. The links are there. YouTube is just being used as a server because a lot of courts and a lot of
How many other attorneys have other friends that put evidence on YouTube?
I believe Kara Winicki's done it. And it's an easy way. There are a lot of court systems, and I think the Indiana Court of Appeals is one of them that won't let you get the Dropbox link, and courts like links. And some people said, "Well, we didn't."
Social media, they don't.
This isn't social media. It's unlisted. You can't find it except with the link. It's not searchable.
Watched it. I played both of those videos.
And what I'm saying, that's right, but they're not public. Yeah, it's unlisted in the sense you can't search for it. You have to have the link. It's not. I mean, you go up there, you won't see it unless you click the link.
I think that
it's not public. It's not public. The link is public so that anyone who has the link can view it, but that doesn't mean it's up there on YouTube. It's up there on YouTube for the world to see if they have the link. It would be the same as if I had used the Dropbox link. And it doesn't take up space on any of my quota. And we can. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into it. I don't have a YouTube channel. I put it up there using YouTube as a server. That's it.
YouTube is a social platform that should not be used as a server for any.
Well, that's your opinion, man.
No, that's just common sense.
No, that's your opinion.
That is absolute common sense.
Well, let me put it this way. I discussed this, putting it up there with a number of highly professional lawyers, and everybody thought it was fine. So you can take your common sense, and I will take the consultation with other lawyers.
I'd love to know a list of those lawyers, because when you put families who are victims in a situation like this,
what? Excuse me. I haven't done anything to the victim.
Just decency, common sense.
I put a van video up.
It has to do with the court case, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
You're trying to use it as evidence that something isn't right, correct?
No, actually not. We submitted the video on thumb drive as evidence to the court separately, and
put it on
because
YouTube.
because judges like links, so they can just look at something. We put it up using YouTube as a server, and you may not like it, but that doesn't make it unprofessional.
No, it is absolutely unprofessional. It's another way for the defense to play their games that they've been playing this whole time.
What? So anyway, I've explained the van.
And I appreciate you coming on and explaining the van, but I'm sorry. This is unprofessional. The whole defense.
We can agree to disagree.
And YouTube is not a secure server.
It doesn't have to be secure. Why
The point is, we know what attorneys you sent this to. They're the ones that put the links out there for everybody to watch.
What, say that again? I'm the one who put it up there.
You passed it on to other defense attorneys, and we know exactly what defense attorneys, you know which ones we're talking about. They turn around and put it out themselves, the links.
And then you put it in.
Hang on a second. The link,
everybody to get the link.
Hang on. The links are in a public document. The links are actually in the motion to correct error. I didn't have to send them out to anybody.
You just admitted that you sent them out to your defense friends, man. We can rewind this tape and play what you said.
I said I talked to them about putting it up on YouTube, and everybody thought that. I didn't say I sent the link. I said I talked about putting it up on YouTube with other lawyers. That's what I said. Feel free to rewind. And there is, to correct something about the appellate process here, there is nobody that sits between Rick Allen and the Court of Appeals deciding whether he gets to appeal. But after the motion to correct error is decided, and I think we expect it'll be denied.
Hey, do me a favor, Mark. Pull up Bear Jew up here.
What?
Bear Jew. He's a guy in the chat. He wants to come up.
It's Centurion.
Sorry, guys. I was focused on Mr. Osberg, and
you're all right.
That you guys were in.
I was just bringing up stuff about the appeal issue itself. I don't know about the ethics as far as releasing stuff the way they go. Seems to be a strategy they use a lot. How much does any of this, Michael? How much of this is missed by the defense not bringing it up? When it comes to this video, when it comes to Ron Logan, this is a question I've had.
The Ron Logan. Well, people have missed the point of that too, and
I'm asking about the legal argument, not the theory. Did they bring it up in trial to where it's preserved, or did they not?
It's preserved now because for the first time, Dr. Kaur said that the girls could have been killed by a box cutter. We have now a confession by somebody less than 3 months after the murders to have killed them with a box cutter.
You're a habeas attorney. If you don't bring this up in the trial, right? If you don't go in sidebar and try to get it shoehorn it in with the door open, do you not forfeit that ability to bring that into trial?
The state is perfectly free to argue that, but it's completely new evidence that puts.
Well, I'm asking you as a habeas attorney.
No, and I'm answering you, and the answer is Dr. Kaur's testimony passed the Ron Logan confession, the alleged confession, and by the way, you all are absolutely right. Question. What Reese Davis has to say. That's why we have hearings. And it's not about Reese Davis's credibility. It's about whether the jury should have had the opportunity to assess that credibility, and whether Rick Allen should have been able. The third party stuff was kept out because Judge Gull, and erroneously in my view, kept saying there's no nexus to any of these things.
My question isn't regarding the validity of it. It's like the Murdahl trial where an attorney brought up something that opened the door to his financial crimes. In this case, did the defense team bring up Ron Logan when that door was opened in the trial, or are they trying to shoehorn it in now? Like, that's not a gotcha thing. I'm asking you because you know how this stuff works.
I'm not saying, shoehorn it. I think that the argument.
That might be the wrong word, but I think
let
you know
me.
what I mean.
I can finish if you'd like, and that is the legal argument is that it's newly, in light of Dr. Kaur's testimony, it's newly discovered evidence that there was really no opportunity to put on at the trial. If the state is certainly free to argue, well, they should have put it in. I don't know. I don't know what argument wins, but it looks like newly discovered evidence to me. But this is why we have hearings.
Well, I have a question.
Oh, Laura.
Yeah, hi. So it's newly discovered as in it was not part of anything that was given in the discovery?
No, it's newly discovered because it is cast in such a new light by Dr. Kaur. So Judge Gull kept out all the third-party stuff, but the box cut. So Nick McClellan gets up there and argues that the van is a detail only the killer would know, when in fact we now know it isn't. And
well, how do we know that?
Rick Allen, hang on. Rick Allen was kept by the Judge Gull's third-party ruling from putting on Logan, and then Kaur creates quite the nexus of a detail only the killer would know. And a confession less than 3 months after the murders, when it wasn't even really generally publicly known, except maybe around Delphi, how the girls had died.
Okay.
So we know. Oh, sorry, Laura.
Oh, I have a bit of a different question. I don't know if this is taking a turn, but I guess what would you say? I guess my thought is that I have listened to you on different channels a lot, and to the defense side. So I mean, if they were so sure that it was this third party, and so that's so awful that they couldn't bring this.
Look, it's not about being sure. It's about there's evidence out there the jury should have heard to assess, whether it was Rick Allen, whether it was, Ron Logan. And by the way, Ron Logan's phone, I believe, somebody was saying Ron Logan wasn't there. I think and feel free to correct me on facts. I certainly probably don't know some of the facts as well as you all.
No, I wasn't asking on facts.
But his phone was at or around the bridge.
Because I genuinely thought you guys really believe it was the Odins, and then it feels kind of betraying when it was like totally backtracked. And now it could be this person, it could be this person, it could be.
Well, look, there are 4 or 5 people. There are 4 or 5 people who've confessed that.
Who?
And to these murders.
Besides Ron Logan, Richard Allen, who is the other 3 or 4?
Well, Brad Holder allegedly confessed to his wife twice. Elvis Fields has allegedly confessed 2 sisters. Plus, there's one.
And failed a polygraph.
And no spit was found.
Well, Ron Logan. Well, we don't. There's certainly unknown male. There's certainly unknown male DNA. Look, you can argue about the facts, and that's what I think. That's what the defense was saying.
Where is your proof that Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall, or Elvis Fields was in the area of the bridge and the crime scene?
Well, Marv, I think on a level playing field with Michael, as he's just making the defense arguments. I don't necessarily think he would even say he believes any of it.
Well, let me get to something about Ron Logan's phone.
But you want this evidence. You want these theories to come in, but you have to show a connection, a nexus.
Well, and here's
on the bridge and at the crime scene the day this
No,
happened.
no, ma'am. I'm telling you, the Indiana Supreme Court has said unequivocally that confessions are direct evidence of guilt. Direct evidence of guilt. That is a nexus by itself. You can
Then the
convict somebody.
61
Let
then the
me
61
finish.
confessions of Richard Allen, he's guilty.
So why were these arguments not made in the first place, Michael? Weren't you actively involved with helping them in
And
the
another
beginning?
thing I want to say is that Nicole Robinson from the FBI lied on the PCA when it came to Ron Logan. She lied about the coordinates of where the girls were located, because where the girls were located was about 100 feet from what Nicole was saying in the PCA.
Yep.
She was lied about the time the girls arrived at the trail. She said 1 o'clock, and they didn't arrive until 1:38 or between 1:38 and 1:40. They were.
And what I would like to say is that everybody seems to be in a huge hurry to say that all kinds of people are lying when all kinds of people may be just making a mistake.
Well, when it comes to Nicole Robinson, she was just out to try to get the case closed so she would get the credibility. That's my opinion, and I'm going to stick to it.
Yeah, fine.
It's just amazing how we're supposed to believe that Ron Logan's confession is true when the evidence doesn't fit the confession.
Oh, it does. It
No,
fits it
Oh,
very
no,
much.
it don't. No, it don't.
It absolutely does not. And the fact that Richard Allen confessed 61 times, we're supposed to just disregard that and believe what Ricky Davis Jr. is saying about Ron Logan.
I didn't say you were supposed to disbelieve it. I personally think that 61 confessions, and there weren't 61. Let's be serious about this.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, Harshman's getting up there. We don't.
Confessions.
No. We haven't heard them all. What is Harshman? What is Harshman? What's he characterizing as confession?
How can you say there's not 61 when you haven't seen or heard them?
Well, but you haven't either.
Did you go to the trial, Michael?
Why would they lie about something like that?
Because I said you don't know what he's characterizing as a confession. There are things that Jerry Holman characterized as incriminating at the second interrogation of Rick that to me they weren't incriminating or confessions at all. They were Rick Allen being pissed off at being badgered. But my point is that
I love how you guys try to spin this. I absolutely believe this, but don't believe this because it's the same thing. And oh my God, there's evidence here, but there's not evidence there. It's ridiculous.
You got one confession that's supposed to be by Ron Logan. No matter how many confessions Ricky Allen admitted to, it could be 10. So you're going to say 10 confessions were all false?
Well, that's.
I happen to think they were, because Ron Logan's confessions and all the other confessions were not made after somebody'd been in solitary confinement for 6 months.
Okay.
Ron Logan's confession does not go with any of the evidence.
Exactly. So there can be. I mean, look.
Well, that's your opinion. I think it goes with a lot. I think it fits a lot of the evidence.
Oh, really? Where does it talk
like the
about
box
the
cutter and the blood, or
where does it talk about the
the
girls?
box cutter, the blood cutting?
Hold on. That's one person talking at a time.
Across the creek. It doesn't say any of that. It all says everything happened on the north side and that they walked the trail that way.
The girls never went up the trail to Ron Logan's property.
Because then we would never have the BG video.
Okay, I have a point real quick. So the only thing is you brought up a lot.
Hang on. Okay. Frank, you're in charge. I need to go cool down for a minute.
All right.
All right.
Like I said, there is no.
I'll stay
hold
cool.
on. Hold on. There is no proof that them girls were ever taken off the trail, off the main trail going to the High Bridge onto Ron Logan's property. There is no evidence of it whatsoever. Just because Ricky Davis, hold on, let me finish. Ricky Davis was out for one thing, trying to get the reward money.
Well, that's why we, and that's why we have hearings. You know, get them in there, and let's find out. You know, it's.
And I think this is just my opinion. The reason why they sent the transport order for Ricky Davis. I can tell you what was going to happen. He was going to come in there and plead the fifth. Guarantee it.
You know, the stuff that you know, people just guess with no evidence of it. This is why we have hearings. And all I can say is that
it's just like Pat Westfall. I've been in communication with that dude many a times, and he done told me straight up if they would have called him in there, he was going to plead the fifth and tell them to fuck off and walk out the courtroom.
Well, and that would have been a smart thing to do.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but they can apply immunity to him and then revoke that Fifth Amendment right by doing so, right?
They could, but the prosecution has to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I did want to say one thing about the appeal, and Frank was saying something that just isn't so. That there's somebody standing between Rick and the judges. Once a notice of appeal is filed, there's a schedule for the completion of the clerk's record. There's a schedule for the completion of the transcript. The date of the briefing runs off the completion of the transcript. It's a big case. I expect there would be some extensions on that, maybe not a lot. And then it goes to the Court of Appeals. There's nobody that stands between Rick and his appeal and the judges. It will go to the Court of Appeals.
Well, he didn't ever say it when it go to the Court of Appeals.
You said that there's some. I think you were thinking of Justin Faulkner, who did decide the original action thing, the third attempt, I think, at the lazy judge motion.
No, what I'm saying is, what I said is that they have an administrative assistant. They review the case before to decide if the justices are going to see it. That's what I said.
And that's not true.
Well, you call them a liar then.
Call them. I don't know who they are.
Court of Appeals, because trust me, I have talked to them on how the process works. Well, don't think I don't do my researching, bud. Don't think I don't do my researching.
Well, so all I can say is you're mistaken.
So legally speaking, Michael, may I ask him a question, Frank?
Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
What do you think the likelihood of this actually standing in the appeal? Like, with the argument being that it could have been brought up at the trial? Because my cautionary tale of this was they pushed the trial too fast, and this wasn't something they were prepared to come in. Like, is there actually a likelihood that this appeal goes through, or is it going to get smashed?
I'm not going to. I don't know what the likelihood is.
You've seen a ton of them. That's why I asked. I know you don't know definitively, but like from what you've seen in your career, how likely is it that this is going to get knocked out?
You know, there are a lot of people who think that. Look, here's why it is impossible to say. We haven't heard the sidebars of what went on behind the white noise. Right, I wasn't at the trial. I don't know what.
I would have to agree with you that because a lot of the sidebar they had a lot of the white noise going on, so we couldn't hear a damn thing.
And see, that's a cautionary thing I've had in my head too. Is if they did bring it up and she swatched it, that might be a very good,
And another thing, Michael, go back to the appellate court the second time they tried to put something in there, and look who signed the order. It was none of the justices. It was the administrative assistant.
That was on the that was not to the Court of Appeals. That was a lazy judge motion that they thought that Judge Gull had waited too long to rule on something. I forget what it was. And it was Justin Faulkner, yes, administrator at the Indiana Supreme Court. Original actions go to the Indiana Supreme Court. Lazy judge motions go there. And yes, he decided that, but this is a direct appeal. This is a completely different animal.
Can we address for the chat and everybody how difficult it is to get an ineffective assistance of counsel of appeal also? Like some of the precedent, just for people that don't know, even if they wanted to try something like that.
You do not, in Indiana, you do not, I mean, except in incredibly rare circumstances. Look,
I've heard of lawyers sleeping in trials, not showing up, still not.
Less than 1% appeals filed.
And what I'm saying is, you do not bring up, except and I can go into sort of an example of a really rare circumstance where you might, but in general, it is a terrible, terrible idea to bring up ineffective assistance of counsel in a direct appeal because you don't have the testimony of the lawyers, which you need because lawyers are given a great deal of latitude in the tactical and strategic decisions they make. And unless, they made a really bad decision, or you can also have a cumulative ineffective assistance claim where, there are 6 errors and you add them all up and they're bad enough. But you don't have the testimony of the lawyers in a direct appeal. You have to save it. And you only get to raise ineffective assistance of counsel once, either in a direct appeal or in a post-conviction case. And so you almost always have to leave it for the post-conviction case because that's where you get the testimony of the lawyer. And an exception I could think of is, you notice how the kidnapping charge got dropped because of statute of limitations? Well, let's just say it had been a kidnapping charge alone, and the lawyer had let it go to trial without moving to dismiss it because of the statute of limitations. You might, in that circumstance, in a direct appeal, raise ineffective assistance of counsel because what? It doesn't matter what the lawyer says his reason was for not moving to dismiss it because there can be no good reason. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So if this is overturned for some reason, they did it, she didn't let it, what does that mean for the trial for everybody listening and watching? Because I think we're pretty evenly distributed in the chat. Like, what is that? Does it go right back to Gull at this point if it were?
Yeah, I think it would. I mean, I think they'd move to disqualify her, but
we've seen how that goes.
And if you all, you asked about what the chances are. From what I know, one of the best issues is going to be the exclusion of the third party evidence, and for a very specific reason, and that is most evidentiary rulings are reviewed for an abuse of discretion. An abuse of discretion is a really, well, you can call it a low standard, a high standard if you want. Anyway, judges get to make, they have broad discretion with evidentiary rules.
If they thought she was doing something incorrect,
what?
They would have removed her after she removed them.
No, because she's done a lot of other things since.
Yes, it's not their discretion for incorrect. It's like, it's a little higher than that, I believe.
No, well, for evidentiary rulings, so keeping out the third party guilt stuff that's an evidentiary rule, and that's reviewed for an abuse of discretion. And for an abuse of discretion happens really only in 2 circumstances. One, where a judge gets some fact really, really wrong, or where the judge gets the law wrong. And there is one point where Judge Gull really got the law wrong when she, I think, and I wasn't, I mean, I get what I know from the trial from having listened to Lawyer Lee and Andrea Burkhart and Bob Mott, you know, their readouts every night. Judge Gull said there was no nexus because there was no DNA, and you don't need DNA for a nexus.
Okay, I'm gonna step in there. That's
that is
sorry,
illegal. That is
Let
illegal
Laura
error.
speak.
Thank you. I'll
Let
just
Laura speak.
that is a simplistic view of what Judge Gull said. She did not say that that was why there. Are you talking why there was no nexus for the Odinism or Odins?
Any
No,
third party.
Third party
Any
stuff,
third party.
which is related.
We've got a possible third party in here. So my other question is, okay, so if you're a habeas corpus lawyer, I'm kind of stepping back here a little bit, but like, so do you always join cases really early on, like way before it even goes to trial or anything? Because doesn't that kind of project that you think it's already going to go to appeal and they're going to need you? Because we've seen you on the web internet a long time.
I spent I've been a little public in this case. I spend a lot of time. I spend a lot of time helping lawyers set up cases relatively early because I mean, down the road, whether you can succeed in habeas depends on a lot of things, but it's about preserving errors, getting errors, in front of the court, maybe coming up with things. I come up with things that maybe the lawyers haven't thought of. I spend a lot of time doing that.
Okay. Well, I think then one of the things that Marv was just trying to express, I know that you're on the law side. I think the thing here is that I just didn't know how far beyond the court system that we can take these strategies, because it feels like some of the channels you've gone on have been channels that have harassed and hurt people very deeply. And then even to the point where like you even were like, I'm done with some of these. So that's hurt, like that really extends. They hurt the families. Like, how is that okay? That's what I just want to ask.
Who's hurt whose feeling?
Oh, you don't know that the family's feelings have been hurt? You're not aware of that?
Who's on this panel?
Bradley, Rosie, and hold on. Bradley, Rosie, and Allen County directed the court that he didn't give a damn about the crime scene photos being out in public. He should have been sanctioned, and he should have been fined for that. He should have been fined for also telling the judges she didn't know what the hell she was doing or what she was talking about at the Allen County hearing.
He said, I believe the quote is, "You don't know this case," and that was true.
She don't know this case, and she reads every document.
Seemed like she knew the case better than they did.
Yeah, exactly.
You're welcome. Welcome to your opinion. I can only quote Andrea Burkhart.
I mean, theoretically, she shouldn't know the case at all, right?
But she has to read.
Please go back and quote Andrea Burkhart, please. Let's talk about that. Can we go back and quote her? Is that honestly?
Andrea Burkhart also said that 300 was a highly traveled road, and it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't know the girl's name.
Once in a while, you get cars on there.
He barely
I'm out
during the trial, and was actually looking for the prosecution side until somebody got in her ear, and then all of a sudden she jumped on the defense side. So I was there today. I saw it.
She talked about the bad thing, what she thought the bad things the defense did and the good things the prosecution did.
But she didn't know the case either.
Well, also, are we talking about, so lawyer, he's in part of the law tube.
Peter Tragos.
Yes, Peter Tragos. He's amazing. And so I knew he is, out of Florida State. So he came out and talked about the jurors or the juror interview, and basically laid it all out and reported completely differently than what I know Burkhart was saying to him. And he also said in the chat, like, I'm not going to take this harassment. We're not going to call this juror stupid. We're not going to talk about that. Like, so it's just, we don't want, since when does things offline get so nasty and heated and cruel? Like, why are we?
I don't know that Michael's the right person to ask moral, like, you know.
I've said.
Wait. Is Michael Ashbrook on this panel?
Yeah.
Michael, how come you point me as the killer?
I never said that.
Greenies, genies.
And you know that you've said, like, the genes, all this stuff, and you know that there's nothing.
I only know about the genes. I have not accused anybody of anything.
He's not accused, but you've had your IU law students researching him.
No.
I was on a panel a lot with you, Michael, and it seemed like you kind of accused him quite a bit.
I didn't
use the laptop and all that stuff. Maybe legally you didn't, but morally and like a regular person, you kind of did.
I mean, are you just look? If you want to poke jabs at me, you can poke jabs. If you think I am, tell me why.
I have not accused anybody of anything.
Or you're like taking the Jesse Ventura.
And the people who spend the time saying that, you know, the defense is accusing Ron Logan, that's wrong. Ron Logan, at least according to Reese Davis, accused himself.
According to him, but according to him, he's lying. So that never happened.
The thing is you can't even ask Ron Logan about it anyway because he's no longer on the series.
Doesn't matter.
It does matter. You are trying to say,
well, then why didn't they want to use a dead person
killed these girls when he cannot defend himself?
And the spinning of the narrative that he lied about his alibi when he didn't lie about where he was. He just lied about who was driving.
You can carve up the look. If Ron Logan has apparently actually confessed to 2 people in prison, I don't know whether the confessions are credible. That's for the argument is that was something for the jury to assess. That's all.
They were trying to get the jury to not listen to Richard Allen's confessions. So if Richard Allen's confessions aren't credible, how is this guy serving 50 for meth credible?
And how many people have confessed?
I will say that if I'd been doing the defense, and this really isn't second guessing the defense, and maybe it's too cute by half, but if Judge Gull was going to keep out the third party evidence, I would have gotten the other confessions in, not to show that the people had committed the crime, but to show that all kinds of people are making false confessions to these crimes.
Yeah,
exactly. That's a big problem. Why are multiple people falsely confessing for this? Like that
happens a lot.
Is it because of the reward money?
I have no idea. I wasn't there.
One at a time. Randy, go.
No. Is it because of the reward money? And this is why everybody's confessing?
You don't get reward money for confessing, Randy.
Well, let's ask Greeno. Greeno, why did you confess at times?
Just to piss people off on the internet.
Exactly. And what about the one? There's a woman somewhere. Something go light. I don't know. She killed her son. Okay, somebody. What? I don't know if that's the right one. She killed her son because she thought her husband was bridge guy. Let's look at what about Sean Harmon? I mean, a lot of people. This is very so we can't rely on confessions alone, and so that's not what the state did. There's got to be confessions plus corroborating evidence.
Because Sean
Harmon, there doesn't. No, and that's what I'm saying. Confessions are direct evidence of guilt. You can be convicted of a crime just by proof that a crime happened and your confession. That's it. That's enough.
But that's not what happened in this case. You're right. That could happen in some
Sean Harmon
foreign land.
Was doing this towards his dad and son, but he said in some of his videos he wanted the reward money.
Who said what in videos?
Sean Harmon was trying to get his dad and his son, saying they were the killer, and he in his one of these videos he said, "I want the reward money."
I see his point. Sean Harmon didn't confess himself. He was pointing out his father and his own son. Okay, I see what you're saying. So he was pointing out he fully believed it was them.
Look,
But did his dad confess?
He died.
Oh, okay. I guess a different argument entirely, though, without the confession. Just for what you guys were talking
Dan, bring
about
us back.
beforehand.
Bring us back into the argument.
Well, you were just talking about. He's talking about how the confessions relate to direct evidence, and then Randy was bringing up that Sean Harmon confessed that his dad did it. But it's not the same thing at all entirely. That's just somebody saying that's a tip, basically.
Yeah, because Keegan Klein said his dad did it.
But lots of people put false tips in like that.
There is.
Well, and Keegan Klein, and frankly, I mean, Keegan Klein, Keegan Klein's testimony that his father confessed, if that's what it was. I'm not way up on my Keegan Klein facts, so.
Facts are hard with him because he's a compulsive liar, from what we know.
But that would be admissible evidence because, Frank was saying, well, 801, keeps hearsay out. Yeah, but 804B3 left in statements against interest, and that includes things that would incriminate you.
Things that would incriminate you, but there needs to be. So I mean, like, if someone comes out and says, hey, "I did it," but they would have to be. I mean, what if they were in Las Vegas? What if the president said he did it?
Well,
he wasn't even.
Hold up a second, Greeno. Check this out. So what you're saying with that rule, Michael? If I said Michael Osbrook confessed to me, then now you have to be brought into third parties. Kind of what you're saying. Like if I went to them and tipped you in that you confessed to me. I'm just asking. I'm not being facetious.
Maybe, and the other thing is that let's go back to the whole motion in limine. Nick McClelland's motion in limine on the third party stuff. He merely said that these people had been cleared. And hang on, I've got a door that's blowing open. He merely said that people. He merely said that people have been cleared. It wasn't a verified pleading. And, lawyers really don't get, that's about evidence. There should have been a hearing about that. Put on the evidence that the people have been cleared normally.
Well, you're saying he nearly said it, so he didn't say it. That's a parsing of words. He didn't say it.
Well, it wasn't evidence. It was a lawyer telling the court, our law enforcement people, and so he probably didn't do the investigation himself, and he's telling, well, our law enforcement people have cleared these people. Well, no,
he didn't say that. No, he didn't say that.
That was a 3-day hearing.
He did not say our law enforcement people have cleared these people. So we're not going to parse words here because that's what they rely on.
They never said that they cleared anybody.
But he said, if this has legs, run with it.
I think he did say that. I think he did say that. Elvis was. His phone was at a.
Muncie.
Yeah, but that's a whole different thing than saying he was cleared. So that's a whole different thing.
They got to provide arguments.
But he was cleared. He was cleared.
No, Anthony.
He somewhere else.
Anthony. Maybe you're thinking that, but in court, it was not said that they were cleared.
No, but it's in court documents. I posted on my community page. It says it about 13 times in one document that dropped a while back. Talked about the Odinist being cleared from any wrongdoing.
That was my understanding. So
now, why did they?
But what about Elvis? They didn't say that about Elvis.
They said, yeah. They said, well, he's part of the Odinist. So here's my thing. Michael,
Elvis Fields is part of the Odinists.
That's how it came up. Yeah, he said that he had
Johnny Messer
on him, and he was part of a brotherhood now, and all this stuff.
But he never actually gave a confession. He never said, "I killed Abby and Libby."
No, so that's coming from his sister, who supposedly heard it from him.
Right.
Yeah,
and handed her a jacket. handed her a jacket, right?
Yeah.
That is and so the testimony of the sisters, if they were brought in, that he confessed to them would be admissible.
But
Okay,
that could be a lie too.
So
That
I
could be a
then
straight
why-
lie.
wait a minute. So I can tell my husband a lie, and he believes it, and because he believes it, it should come in.
It's not because he believes it. It's not because he believes it. It's because you said it.
A lot of people say things. It doesn't mean that they actually did it.
Look,
a lot of people
let's also
confess
work at both ways.
things that they didn't do.
Let's work at both ways.
Even in murders.
Hang on, I got one thing to add before you explain that, Michael. I got one thing to add. What if they told a lie on somebody and said that they said that when they really didn't? Then
that could be well, and that's what people are saying about Reese Davis, and they may be saying about other people. And let me tell you why the evidence rules. And you can disagree with the rules. I don't think the evidence rules necessarily promote truth all the time. But the idea behind the evidence rules is, first, hearsay is generally unreliable, so you don't let it in. But then there are all these exceptions. And the idea of the exceptions is that for one reason or another, the exception makes that the exception is reliable. And the idea behind 804b3 is that people don't confess to murders that they didn't commit.
Oh, bull. We've got a lot of people that confess to the murders that they didn't commit. I mean, look at all these cases out there.
Marv,
Marv, you're making his argument.
We can argue, Marv, we can argue about the rule if you want.
Hang on. Let me say this.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who confesses to a crime. What matters is that you have evidence to go with that connection or with that confession to prove that the person was on the bridge with the girls and at the crime scene.
Corroborating evidence.
And you've got Ron Logan. You got Ron Logan's phone at or near the bridge at 2:09. And I'm not saying
that was the Freedom Bridge, not the Monon High Bridge.
He was driving by the Freedom Bridge.
Okay, so then are you limiting it to only Ron Logan then? Is that where we're...
I'm not limiting... Look, that's what's in the motion to correct her. I'm not limiting it to anything. Ron Logan became, important in a different way once Dr. Kaur testified.
Okay, right. But we're talking of, I guess, of all these different...
I really don't want to argue. Look, it's not up to Rick Allen. It's not up to Rick Allen to prove who did it.
It's not up to him. No, it's not.
No, it's not. It's up to the prosecution. And they proved that he was the man on the bridge. 12 jurors.
Actually, they didn't, but the jury seemed to think they did. He did, and that's fine.
Can you explain how they did it? How did they not? Let's go. Give me one example of how they didn't prove it.
He put himself there.
Well, just give me one example of how they did not prove it.
The jury believes.
Okay, guys.
Hold on.
I'll say everybody relax, because Michael's not the judge, jury, or anything. He's the lawyer giving you legal, poke him with legal questions rather. He's not the guy who's solving the case or anything. If you want to know any of the legal stuff about the appeal process or anything, that's the dude to ask. Otherwise, the rest of the stuff is him speculating like everyone else. He doesn't know more than anyone else.
Does this whole appeal process involve you going onto how far can you go onto other channels, and how far does that go where you're?
I'm not the appellate lawyer. I don't know. I don't know.
I guess maybe habeas. So you get to have your
habeas is the last.
Study Anthony Greeno.
Laura, the last steps in the process.
I guarantee you, I will be long out of the business before this case ever gets to federal court.
I don't think so. That's okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying he has fun like everybody else. If you want any of those legal questions, he's not going to be able to answer all. If you're asking questions from the other side, he doesn't know all that stuff. But if you want to know how this stuff can go, will go, that's probably your best bet. Because you just disagree fundamentally about what happened, and that's fine.
Okay, then I do have a question. How can this go? So, like, let's say if there's what we're saying is that maybe we have 7 to 8 logical people who have made some kind of a confession. So all of us know there's only one kill, like, or even if we want to say one group, quote unquote, which I don't believe that. So there's one killer. So what differentiates that from the other 8? Because obviously it's not any, it's got to be the corroborating evidence. So.
Well, and what I'm saying is when you put any one of these people on trial, and it was one Rick Allen, I mean, look, if somebody, let's say Ron Logan had been arrested before he died in January of 2022, and Brad and Andy were representing him. They would want, and this would have been before Rick Allen's confession, they would want the other confessions to come in. It was the other people, and because there are things that tie these people to this. You can, and the prosecution would absolutely get to put on the case. They were nowhere near the place, but it would be up to the jury to figure that out. It's just like, I mean, the prosecutors put on jailhouse snitches all the time. And of course, the defense lawyers say it's nothing. Well, the shoe would be on the different foot this time with, Reese Davis, for example, and James Haas. And, and the defense would be putting on the jailhouse snitches. And the prosecution would be saying, no, this is a jailhouse snitch. You shouldn't believe him. And by the way, the whole polygraph thing, we knew exactly what that page was, and it's not like we didn't know what was there, but the polygraph evidence would not be admissible at a Reese testifying, and you can put what weight you want in a polygraph. I put none.
Okay, I see what you're saying, Dan. I get it. Okay.
I have a question.
Now,
thank you.
Ahead. Wait a minute.
That's fair, Michael.
Let Anthony ask his question.
Yeah.
Here's my question. So when you have all of this stuff that's happening, the motion to correct errors and all this stuff that the defense team is doing now, is this common in most criminal cases of a conviction or a high sentence such as
motions to correct error are really rare. I mean, they're pretty rare, and whoever said they're not for newly discovered evidence is mistaken. If you read the trial rule, not the criminal, so it's a little awkward. They added a criminal rule for motions to correct error, and it's hard to know what part of the trial rule. So,
may I add a modifying question to that, Greeno or Michael?
Yeah, sure.
What is the legal definition of newly found evidence?
Thank you.
Because this is very key to everything that's being said. Because there's legal definitions and colloquial definitions, and I don't know if there is.
Well, there's a 9-part test. Shay Hughes, a really great lawyer up in Lafayette, put something up on Twitter about it. It's a legal term of art. It wasn't, the whole 9-part test wasn't included in the motion to correct error. Everybody knows about the 9-part test. The important part of it, there are really 3 parts of it that are important. 1, it couldn't have been discovered in time for trial. 2, it's not merely impeaching evidence. And 3, it would probably produce a different result.
Okay, that's what I did. I did research it, and those were the 3 answers that I got.
Okay, but you were saying that somebody
there are 6 more.
Okay, but you were saying that one of us had said that that whoever said there was newly discovered information that would not apply. Well, what I'm trying to say is I don't think I mean everything that you've had to look at in the discovery is I guess that comes. I get what you're saying. Like, it's newly discovered information. It's been there. Because
it's newly discovered in the sense of, so to go to the Logan confession, it's newly discovered in the sense that it's significant. And I'll give you an example in a minute.
It's a sharp object.
I got to follow up on that.
After Dr. Kaur's testimony, the significance of the Logan, the alleged Logan confession. Look, I'm not. Give what credibility you want to it. That's fine. I'll give you an example. Christine Bunch was convicted of setting a fire that killed her child in a trailer. I think it was a trailer.
Okay.
And this was based on arson science. And the arson science changed, and she was completely exonerated. I mean, she's now a board member of the Indiana Innocence Project, the new one. But the way that claim was raised was newly discovered evidence. Now, the change in science really isn't newly discovered evidence, is it? I mean, the evidence was always the same, but the significance of that evidence changed completely.
Okay, I see what you're saying, but did it because box cutter versus sharp edge weapon? I mean,
it was very specific. I mean, look, Kaur had always said. I mean, for 7 years he said that it was two blades, one straight, one serrated, and then.
Oh, wait, no, he didn't say that. Didn't Nicole Robinson say that?
Did. Yeah, Kaur said that.
Was that the one who testified?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't just the fact that it's a sharp-edged weapon be enough to get something like that in, Michael?
Not when he said it's two. Not when he says it's two blades, one serrated, and then changes his testimony to at trial without having given that opinion. But the world changes if he'd given that opinion to the defense before his testimony at trial.
So,
but he did.
But his testimony at his trial was: could it have been one? Could it have been two? He said yes for both. So it could have been one. He didn't say it has to be two.
Michael, are sidebar arguments part of the public record or no?
They will be once the transcript comes out.
That's what I was at. Yep. Okay. That's a key thing for people to know. And if you're in the chat or anything, everybody take note of these things so you can look for them when it comes out.
And that's why it's very hard to say up front, what the appeal is going to look like. Just because you don't know what happened behind the white noise. And the other thing is, I think there's a bunch of stuff that was said that was actually not made part of the record. And the appellate lawyers may have to go back down and do it either by affidavit or by hearing, do something called reconstructing the record, because they may have to find a way to get the lawyers to agree, maybe with the judge, about conversations that were had that were not on. I don't know.
So why didn't they call this Ricky Davis to trial when they had intended, and Klein? Why didn't they do that?
I'm not going there. The claim in the motion to correct error basically is they didn't have the time to do it, because Kaur comes up with it for the first time at trial. So I'm just not. The claim is it's newly discovered evidence. The state's argument on the other side is going to be newly discovered, schmooly discovered. They had it. They could have, asked for a continuance. They could have done a bunch of stuff. Look, there's a reason. There are, in most cases, two sides of an argument. But
what I'm saying here is a confession must be credible and supported by independent evidence. What independent evidence?
What?
What independent evidence is there that Ron Logan did this?
Oh, the girls were found on his property.
Big deal.
It is a big deal.
There were two girls on his property to be framed.
Well,
but he wasn't there at that time.
His phone's out there in the early morning hours.
Yep. But that's not necessarily accurate either.
But it states that many states require corroborating evidence, such as physical evidence or witness testimony, to support a confession before it can be used to convict someone. So what evidence is there?
You don't need any supporting evidence. You don't need supporting evidence for a confession. You just don't.
No, Marv, I think the part where you Marv,
yes, you do.
Marv, but I think what you're getting at is if Ron Logan were on trial, but this is like reasonable doubt stuff, so I don't think that evidentiary standard.
No, I'm talking about Richard Allen's trial. In order to bring in evidence of the confession from Ricky Davis Jr., what evidence does the defense have that
he's around the place?
Corroborating evidence that Ron Logan did it, besides the fact that the girls were found on his land, and besides the fact, hang on, and besides the fact that his phone was located at the Freedom Bridge at 2:09.
No, his phone's out there. His phone's out there. His phone's out there in the woods near the crime scene in the morning too.
Yeah, but they're looking for the girls.
It was 100 yards away. It wasn't by the crime scene.
And that's a great argument by the prosecution, but that's not a reason to keep it out.
What is?
Well, I have one more question. I understand what he's saying legally.
Hang on, Laura.
I got it. I got you, Marv.
What evidence to bring it in?
The evidence is he confessed. The girls were found on his property, and I mean that's really not
corroborating evidence.
Right, but that's what I'm getting at, Marv, is they don't have to convict Ron Logan to get it in. They obviously didn't let him in, but if they do, they don't have. You don't have to convict someone in the court to get them in as third party, is what he's saying. Correct, Michael?
Yeah,
you just have to have something, and it seems like if anybody has any sort of nexus, Ron Logan would be the guy. I think Richard Allen did it. Michael doesn't.
Michael's definitely talking the law. I get it. I think I see what you're saying, Dan.
Yep.
Now here, let me ask you a question. So is the law based on? Do you think that the judicial system is based on truth?
No.
Well, I did a whole.
Whoever's story is better that the jury believes.
I did a whole live. I did a whole live on R&M, and the title of which I think was Trials in the Tenuous Relationship to Truth. I mean, no, trials are not about truth.
No.
At least some trials aren't, and this is one of them. It's really not about truth. It's about, I mean, you know, all this stuff, all this evidence, the Odinism stuff was kept out. The third party stuff was kept out. They're not unrelated. And
but there was no evidence, Michael, that any of those people were at the bridge or the crime scene.
No, the rune stuff, the Facebook stuff, the relationship between these people, that connecting evidence. I mean, it's certainly
that's not enough to show that they were in the area.
Let me finish. It's more. It connects them. Oh. You don't have to show. Look, if you've got the confessions. Look, if somebody puts on defense, right? I mean, basically, it would be the prosecution putting on alibi defenses for these people.
Well, if that's the case, that's stuff anybody can
which the jury can believe. What?
If that's the case in any case around the United States for murder, anybody confess, and you're saying that should be allowed to be brought in to the trial because they confessed, even though there's no evidence that I was actually there at the scene.
You say there's no evidence. I mean, you know, if somebody, look.
I mean, that's what preliminary hearings
are for. You can't just be in the general area. You have to be at the bridge where the girls were kidnapped and at the scene where they were murdered.
Look, Andrew Burkhart was using the example of, like, you can't just accuse somebody of murder because they live next door, right?
Yeah.
But I guarantee you can get them in. I guarantee you can get them in if they live next door and confess. And look.
Okay, I totally get that law from a law point of view, but let's also go with, then why did the FBI stop researching or stop and give the case up? Because they want to make it sound like, oh, the FBI, they had a battle. No,
they only have jurisdiction if the state allows them to, and they booted him out, if I remember correctly.
Well, okay, so also the testimony was that they were still available for a call at any point. So if they still, and also they got some coordinates wrong and a lot of things wrong. I mean, so I guess at what point did they stop looking at Ron Logan? At some point, somebody stopped looking at them.
It's very interesting. I don't know. I will say that so Ron Logan's place got searched twice. Searched, as I understand it, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but it got searched as part of, without a warrant, for the probation violation. That was shortly after the murders, and then the FBI went out and got a search warrant again in mid-March, with like 15, like that. So that means that there was probable cause to search his place in mid-March. They had probable cause to search, and probable cause to search is the same standard.
And they did, and there was nothing.
Well,
there was nothing.
I've seen some.
So what made Nicole drop it?
Actually, that's not true.
Well, the very first search is Maxwell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My point is that there was a judicial finding of probable cause to search the place in March. It looks like, so the tip from Reese Davis comes in the 15th or 17th of May. So the confession was a little before that. And if they had probable cause to search his place, you tacked the confession on. There was probably probable cause to arrest Ron Logan back in May of 2017.
And they didn't, based on the FBI did not either. They left it. So
it wasn't up to the FBI to do the arrest. I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't know.
I know. I'm sorry. Hey,
this
Michael.
This is what I was going to ask the panel too.
Look, I can't tell you. Look, I can't tell you. I can't tell you why.
I know. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude to you. This is our okay.
He knows. He loves talking about this stuff.
You're asking about the course of the investigation, right? And I cannot tell you why. In 2019, when they've been stumped for 2 years and they've got all this DNA to test, instead of testing the damn DNA, they put out another sketch and say, help us. I mean, the first thing you friggin' do is test the DNA. Why don't they do that? I'm not saying there's any conspiracy. It may be pure stupidity, but it's investigation 101. Why would you rely on the public when you've got all this biological material to test?
What did you think about the arguments in trial that the samples were so dilute or small that it was hard to test? Do you think they should have tested the samples and basically, if the tests were inconclusive, it's all trash? Or do you think it's better that they preserved them the way they did?
Look, there are hairs they didn't test. That's not a problem. I'm not talking about the diluted message. That for 7 years, I mean, and look, it came out.
I have the same questions.
It came out as Kelsey's, and that's fine. But you're not testing a hair that's wrapped around a victim's finger. Are you kidding me?
I think we all have weird questions about that.
No, I'd love to talk on this because I heard it, and that was brought up in the third day of jury selection. Why was that not brought up in their initial opening on the day 2? So to me, it was like they need to play this in the media because that was a talking.
Well, I mean, the defense team has their strategy. I just don't know why the state wouldn't have covered that beforehand. I've often wondered about
because I
that.
can explain
This is
I can
going.
explain. It was mitochondrial tested, mitochondrial. So they knew it was familial and they knew it was a female. So they don't need to go forward because they're not,
I
blaming it on
see.
Kelsey.
I
So
see.
they had it tested. So they didn't need to do the further DNA testing. So we're parsing words over, we're splitting hairs over
They
testing.
didn't do that. They didn't do that until weeks before the trial.
Yeah, they did the DNA testing when you guys asked for it. That's when they did it.
Right, but he's got a valid point. If you have DNA, why the hell didn't you test it before that?
Yeah, well, I think we all have that question, right?
Because it was. Why would you test? No. Why would you test if you already know something's? Because there was like 75 hairs. Okay, why would you test something this is already mitochondrial? So it's like you do a screener, okay, and then if it doesn't pass a screener, then you go further.
So you're saying, Laura, because it's not male, it kind of excludes?
No, it was female and familial.
No, I'm saying even that excludes whoever the
not male, no,
killer
female and a family member.
Yeah, I'm saying it's not male. It's not male, so it. Well, I guess
because
mitochondrial could be either.
It's Kelsey's car.
Okay. Yeah, it's weird. But there's a bunch of the stuff that people make arguments about that wasn't tested, and I wasn't at the trial, and I don't even know who to listen to about it.
Right, you're right. That's the fallacy. That's what I'm trying to bring to light. Is that was a farce. Like they brought it up, and then they never talked about it again. They never brought it up anytime again throughout the trial, except that they already knew it was. They were the ones.
That's why they need to get the evidence up. Why aren't they giving the evidence up? To support, because we can show this stuff and people wouldn't have to sit there and think about what somebody said or what somebody there said, when we could just show it to everybody. And even when we file documents, they still don't want to give up, like the bridge guy video or the confessions. Why? What's the reason for that?
Yeah. Hey, that's the questions I think honestly we all have. Why is it not all public now? Why are they not dumping all this stuff for everybody to leave it alone?
Yeah, because they came out and said people have tarnished the community, but they won't. Like, I mean, in my most recent letter, I've asked them, I told them, I said, these don't fall under crime scene photos that you put under your sealed order. These are public documents here. And the public should be able to see them, because if I sat in court and looked at those videos and saw them like everyone else did that was in there, then the public should be able to see that.
Yeah. I think all of us on all sides of any of this are like, there's tons of questions we all have.
That's what everybody needs to focus on, is getting them to release that so they can see it and not speculate.
Right. So this thread of the conversation started with, why didn't they arrest Ron Logan? And all I was saying is I don't have an explanation for the course the investigation took, and I was just using the DNA in 2019 as an example of another thing in the course of the investigation I can't explain.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, man.
Okay. I get that.
I gotta say, everybody needs to be sure to smash the like and thank Marv.
Instead of having the superintendent of the Indiana State Police get out there and say that these two pictures are the same person when they are obviously not the same person.
Oh. Yeah, it's always been a weird one for everybody, I think.
Wait a minute. So for Electric Werecat or whatever it says, the panel wanted the video evidence to be secret. I mean, I've never wanted it to be secret. I've wanted all this stuff to be public for everybody to see. That's why I want
people
you guys
don't
to see what I see.
Fiends being facetious. Nobody wants the crime scene photos out there.
No.
People want the discovery and the information that can debunk a lot of this speculation on both sides.
Well, I think it's not unreasonable, and maybe something's going to be done about it, to have the crime scene photos that don't include body parts.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a problem with that, or should be.
Not redacted, no.
Michael, my question is how do we get this stuff released? So the stuff that should be released, not the crime scene photos or autopsy.
We've all been trying for a long time.
The things that should have been transparent and need to be released. How do we get those released? because we're having.
You know, I am not
Gotcha.
no expert on the public records laws and how you go about that stuff.
And Marv, I think, and Michael, I think the same thing would apply to getting the trial to be televised and all that stuff. Like why that didn't happen, and the same kind of.
I can tell you why that didn't happen, because nobody knew how to use the equipment. That's what it comes down to.
No, that's not why.
Here's my take on televising. I'd have been happy just to have audio, but
oh, I totally agree with that. I really do.
The audio should be released. I agree.
The thing that I have hated about some of like the Karen Reed trial and some other stuff that I haven't watched hours and hours of it, but the thing that I think is grossly unfair is to have the defendant in the most high stakes situation they're in, like, have to be aware of what the camera, what's on their face because of a damn camera.
What you're talking about, the defendant? It was cutting out a little bit, Michael. Like
no, that was
defendant's
that's a good
facial
point.
expressions.
So they didn't.
I
So
was
Judge
just
Bull
asking
did not
for
do that
clarification.
to. Yeah, that was a good point. So she did not do that to Richard Allen.
Are you talking about when they zoom in on the person and watch them like doodling and?
Yeah, doodling, facial expressions, whatever. I mean, I just don't.
It's a lose-lose situation, guilty or innocent. Like, it doesn't matter which one you are. When they stare at you like that, you're there for 3 weeks. I've tried to explain that to people. Imagine you sit in front of a camera and a bunch of people for 3 weeks. You might.
Yeah.
How do you look at what facial expression do you make when crime scene photos are up there? Do you look sad? Then you're guilty. Do you look sad? Then you're showing remorse, which means you're guilty. Are you not remorseful enough? You're guilty. Like it's an impossible.
Right. If you do a fake cry, you fake cried.
Yep.
And I think I have seen trials where you actually can't see the defendant. All you can see is the lawyers, the witnesses, and the witness and the judge.
And I think that's court orders that determine that type of.
Yeah, and I think and that would probably be fine. But I audio would have been fine too.
Yes.
I think audio does that. That does, or they could have also had a separate room like that. Whatever you call it, a flow over room or something. So it wasn't such a battle in the line.
No, I think he's right. It should have been the audio. It should not have just been a couple of rooms of people could hear this. Everybody should have been able to hear this by her at least releasing the audio. And you don't even have to release it that day. She could release it now so everybody could hear it.
Or it could be pending redaction for things that need to be taken out, etc. Michael would know more about that, but
You're right.
I just don't. No, I have never heard anything other than emotional arguments of why that shouldn't be in there. Like, and that doesn't work for me because we pay taxes. Michael pays taxes in Indiana, and like the public's entitled to go. They're entitled to see it. Like it bothers me.
The thing that it's public and everybody should be able to see it. I don't know that doesn't get very far with me. It's a small courthouse. Public trial doesn't mean a public trial in the Sixth Amendment doesn't mean necessarily a national broadcast trial.
No, I feel like that should change though.
Maybe. I mean, maybe.
I'm waving my magic imperial wand.
Look, okay, in light of also what's on the screen, I have one question. Was the Abby video or the Abby photo, was that photoshopped?
I don't know. Look, Cecil couldn't explain why it wasn't on her camera. On the other hand, if I understand the phone evidence, Snapchat app was accessed at 2:07.
Yes.
I have been suspicious of the Abby video, but on the other hand, I mean, I can see why people think it's Photoshop. My problem with it is it does show up. So it does show up. So some friend of hers kept it on Snapchat at something like 7 o'clock that night. And, you know, my question is, who had the time to do it? When did they do it? And why did they do it?
Thank you. I've heard different than that. That it was almost like she was not. I mean, there's a YouTuber. I'm not going to say the name, but they make it where it looks like a complete like Photoshop amalgamation is what they say. So it's like she was never on the bridge. It was a different picture, and they edited it onto the bridge.
I have zero patience. There is a faction of the pro defense side that keep demanding proof of life.
Yeah.
And I have absolutely zero patience for that.
All right. I respect that.
Yeah. It let me go back to how at least and again, I mean, you can fight back, you know, your own plausible narrative about why this isn't possible, but you know, it kind of looks like if you look at Ron Logan's confession, he knew Abby, and if you look at that, if that Snapchat picture is right, and then it's an actual picture of Abby on the bridge, there's nobody behind her. And so one version of it is, and I'm not saying this is what happened, but it actually makes more sense than what a lot of people think. And I don't mean you all, I just mean, okay, I'm not directing this at anybody. But it's that Logan was walking from the south side of the bridge to the north side of the bridge past them, because there's nobody behind Abby at 207, past, recognized Abby, and then turned around. In other words, whoever bridge guy is, if bridge guy is actually involved, which whoever bridge guy is, turned around. It's not, didn't come from the north side of the bridge. It came from the south side, and then past them.
Okay, well, I wanted to say that I really respect what you're. Okay, so I've listened to you on a lot of different, like, over time. So I think there's been times when you've thought of like, well, because some people say it's Richard Allen plus the Odins, and you've been like, no, it's either Richard Allen up to his mustache hairs or whatever you said, nose hairs, or it's not. Do you still believe that?
Yeah, he has. Look. My take on this, and so
Personal opinion legal.
I got involved in this case over the contempt stuff. I really didn't know anything about it.
That's when I met you.
And for some reason, the thing I filed. So I was defending Andy and Brad, right? I mean, that was what I was doing. And for some reason, that pleading, a student of mine said, made me a Twitter mini celebrity, which I thought was hilarious. And having gotten involved in that, and there was a federal hook on that, because if Gull had actually found them and
right here,
removed them again, you know, we were going to go to federal. But that didn't happen. But over time, I sort of got involved in the facts. I also, I really wasn't working on facts of the case, but I did may help out the defense with. I became their IT consultant briefly. Supplied them with some high capacity hard drives. To help them handle all the discovery. But my practice hasn't been necessarily in the wrongful conviction space, as they say, but there's certainly some cases that I've had that were wrongful convictions, and it's just a lot easier to prevent a wrongful conviction than it is to undo one. And so I will tell you why I think I am absolutely convinced to my bones that Richard Allen is innocent. It makes absolutely zero sense that a CVS manager with no criminal history, served in the National Guard, just leading a perfectly normal life on a warmish Monday afternoon in February.
He's a human being.
First
He's a
crime
mammal.
ever. I'm not saying. Look, it's not impossible. Look, I'm telling you what my thoughts.
I'm sorry.
Okay? I'm not saying.
Was that way?
Do you believe he's factually innocent?
Yes, I do.
Factually.
I absolutely do. I believe he's factually.
Okay, because OJ couldn't answer that. She couldn't answer that. She said no, or she couldn't answer. I'm not gonna put words in her mouth.
And I don't understand that, because I didn't understand that really, and she has her own take on it. But Brad and Andy came out in their press release saying he was innocent. And
factually.
Yeah, I think that's what they said in the press release. Just before the gag order came out. And check me if I'm wrong, but and Libredo certainly said that after he was off the case. So I got involved in it to try and prevent a wrongful conviction, and I really was on the outside. I was just pitching ideas from what I knew. I certainly had no access to discovery, and the only access to discovery I've had since is basically what was necessary for the motion to correct error. So I'm not on the inside of this by any means. I don't know everything they know at all. But yeah, I was in this to prevent a wrongful conviction. And now I'm in it. The other thing you want to do when you're trying to undo a wrongful conviction is it gets harder at each stage. And so, I want to help them get this conviction vacated / reversed at the earliest stage possible. Call me a bad person if you like.
Well, that's your job, man.
I don't think.
Not the public talking on YouTube stuff, but the actual legal stuff's your job.
Yeah, I think it's just the way that this defense team has acted, and it's been so disrespectful in a lot of people's eyes.
I'm not sure what I'm not sure what particular instances you're talking about. But.
The releasing the crime scene details in the Frank's motion, the pictures getting out. There's
that was a crime, and the Frank's motion. The exhibits were filed confidentially, I think.
No, why? If they were filed confidentially, why did they go out to everybody?
The exhibits did not go out to everybody.
No, the Frank's motion.
The Frank's motion did go.
Yeah, and what's the matter with that? It's a pleading. It has to be public. The rules. I mean,
strategy.
Well, there's a gag order to stop all the dissemination of information on the case. Shouldn't.
No, the gag order does not apply. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Pleadings. I mean, actually, and they can actually, if you look at the protective order, it's only for non-judicial stuff. they can put anything in the pleadings they want. And they have to. I mean, everybody's screaming about, transparency. They put the Frank's motion out there because it's a motion. Motions are public.
But they only did that because they wanted to influence the public, because they wanted to hopefully reach a jury member that would hear this and think, as soon as they got called for the jury, think, oh, this is that case with the corrupt cops that are lying about this guy and he's innocent.
You can think that's all they wanted to do, and that's fine. That's your opinion. But they wanted a Frank's hearing to try and suppress some evidence. And that's how you get one. You file a motion asking for a Frank's hearing, and you lay out the details of why you're entitled to the hearing. I mean,
but people have come forward, Michael. People have come forward and said that the defense team has asked them to lie and push a narrative on Odinism or ritualistic cult before it happened.
Who's come out and said the defense told them to lie?
I know that Mark Cohen has said that publicly.
And if you believe anything, Mark Cohen says,
well, let's leave
Ricky Davis says.
Let's leave Mark Cohen out of here unless he's here to answer for himself.
Look, lawyers file motions. That's how you talk to the court.
This is about what we're hearing. If we can say, Ron Logan confessed to Ricky Davis, and that should come into court, even though there's no evidence that he was on the bridge or at the crime scene, then anything could come in on this show.
The bodies were found on his property. I mean, I'm sorry. That's a lot.
It doesn't matter.
He was there at the time.
Are made all the time, and victims are found on other people's property. It doesn't mean just because those bodies were there, he did it.
No, it doesn't.
Well, you can argue with the law all you want, and I've always said I don't care what the rules are. I'll argue. I'll do the lawyering. Just tell me what the rules are, and then I'll figure them out. And you can not like the rules, but I can tell you that that confession comes in.
Are there any updates on the Essex hearings for Brad and Andy that Gall recommended or anything? Do you know?
I have no idea, and they're going nowhere.
Just wondered. I hadn't heard anything about. I don't even know if those are public because they're bar stuff and not.
I mean,
I don't think they necessarily state information.
No, the disciplinary commission keeps the stuff confidential, and the only time it becomes public is when
disciplinary action.
The only time it really becomes public is if it ends up going to the Supreme Court.
Okay.
So here's a question, Michael. If they don't start giving up these documents, what's the next step that we should do? Like, what do we do now? I mean, I've already filed a FOIA. They've gotten back what they said they were going to give them. Now they're not. They're just.
I just don't know what the public records laws require.
Wrong lawyer. Yeah, say wrong lawyer to ask.
I'll send you the public records laws. I got them all and
well,
researched it like crazy. But
I mean, it's like if you asked him how to sign a land contract for your house, he's probably not the guy to ask.
He's a lawyer, so who do we contact to get answers like this?
Yeah, what kind of lawyer, Michael? Where would you go to look for that resource? Do you know how to?
I don't. So I don't know. I don't know if you talk. I don't know if she talked to you, but Maggie Smith in Indianapolis did the public records original action.
Somebody write that down.
Maggie Smith, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's a public record. Yeah, well, but I mean, look at the original action. Her name is on it. It's got an appearance in the Supreme Court, I think. And, her information's there. You could contact her. Be nice, because she's a terrific lawyer. And, being nice will more likely get you help.
Awesome.
I'm not saying she will help, but
No, it's worth a
You-
shot,
hey,
though.
thanks for the information, at least.
Yeah, I just don't. It's, I'm dealing most of the time with federal court, and so the whole what's kind of, yeah. I mean, I'm not even that conversant with what has to be confidential in court rules and what doesn't. I should be more conversant with that. I mean, we did, the exhibits in the motion to correct error. We redacted out just about
Can
all
they?
the first.
Here's a legal
all-
question on that. If you know, Michael, it's being non-public record related, you may not know, but if they just blanket and say the investigation's still open, does that mean everything's still hidden forever until they close the case? Because I thought somebody said they still had, or at the press conference, they said they were still.
I think there have been some email or letter responses on saying these documents, whatever was being requested, are not subject to disclosure because of ongoing investigation. I don't know.
Frustrating, to say the least.
Yeah, well, there's a lot about this case that's frustrating. I tell you, on all sides.
I got a question for the panel, whoever's left.
Okay, go ahead.
Given everything that's gone on, everything you've endured, watched people endure, would everyone still be just as involved in this, knowing what they know now, if they could do it all over again?
Say that again.
So say you know exactly what you know now, how everything's played out publicly for everyone who's YouTube, whatever. Would you still have involved yourself in this case in the same fashion?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know who's above me. Who is that? In the top right? Or Michael? I probably wouldn't.
Hello, hello.
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 How you folks doing? I've been really amusing myself in chat. People are really respectful. Love it.
Good to hear. Like I told them, we can all be on opposite sides and say stuff, but we have to respect one another's opinions.
True.
I think my point about the motion to correct error and what I think a lot of people would, is Frank Westerling on this? He's on this. I'm leaving. If he's on, I'm leaving. So
yeah, I was gonna say the same.
No,
not,
he's not. No, I'm out of here.
No, don't worry. I will.
You know what?
For
you should come on, and I want to talk to you. Send me an email if you can.
You all are. Look, it's only.
I'm not gonna kill you.
It's past midnight. I've turned into a pumpkin.
Too much water after midnight.
No, we've been live for 3 hours.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, just not appearing with Frank. So, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for answering all the questions, and I appreciate it.
That's too bad, Michael. I thought that I could ask you a lot of questions.
Bye.
No. I love you, Marv. Thanks for having me on. Greeno. Peace, brother.
Have a good night.
Later, dude. Thank you for coming on here. I'm having some serious problems with my stream. I can't stay on it for some reason. It just goes deep, kicks me right out.
You keep going in and out and in and out. I need you to take care of things for a minute. I have to go to the bathroom again.
I got you. I'm just going to drop play a video that I'm supposed to play on here, and then we'll be right back. Okay, everybody? So check these out, and we'll be right back.
Murder on the Manon, the mystery unfolds in the heart of darkness. The story is told. Justice for Abby, justice for Libby, uncovering the truth to find who's guilty. Justice for Abby, uncovering the truth to find who's guilty.
Guys, down the hill.
Committing juveniles collecting 13-year-old Abigail Abby Williams at the High Bridge in Delphi, Indiana, and 14-year-old Libby Abby. All known as Irene and requested from the station to help with the search party. Last seen on the
Somebody out there knows who this person is, and you want to know what we know. One day, you will.
In the shadows, the truth will shine because these girls are gone. For Abby and Libby, we seek the truth about what happened that day when there was murder on the Manon. Murder on the Manon. Murder on the Manon. Murder on the Manon. Manon, Manon, Manon. Murder on the Manon. Justice for Abby, uncovering the truth to find who's guilty. Justice for Abby, justice for Libby.
My name is Anthony Greeno, and I'm from Delphi, Indiana, and I run a YouTube channel called True Crime Investigates.
What have I missed? What am I not seeing?
It's the only 24/7 true crime broadcast network. Plus free episodes online, true crime podcasts, news and more, all in one place.
I love this part.
It's one destination for your fascination. Justice Network becomes the True Crime Network.
disagree with the verdict. The only people that mattered was the jury.
I had a question, Mr. Carter.
Yes.
At the one-year press conference, I asked you if anybody had been cleared in the investigation. At that time, you said that the individuals that you had spoken with up to that point, you felt confident that there was no involvement. Do you regret saying that right now?
No.
Because Richard Allen was one of those people?
Ask me that question one more time. I think that the people that we have talked to at this point in time, we feel confident that there was no involvement.
Yeah. Now come to find out Richard Allen was one of those people.
Yeah.
How do you look back on that? I mean, does that...
Well, I look back on comments made in my life like you should look back on yours.
Right.
And I said here, there are opportunities for us to have redos, right?
Always.
But we don't have that opportunity to do that. And I love the question. I appreciate the question. At that time, that's what I felt.
And that's what I thought.
And at that time, I felt that he was among us.
He was.
In April of 19, I said that in this very room.
Your profile matched.
Yeah. Well, and there was a lot of criticism about that. But the reason that I said that, the primary reason that I said that.
Small town whispers deep at night, shadows moving out of sight. Mystery man, the bridge guy lurks, silent menace, grief it stirs. Footsteps echo on the path, fear grows heavy after night. Cold eyes watching from the dark, lost in silence leaves its mark. Who is he? The bridge guy hides in the corners where darkness rides. Unseen, felt he's always near. Bridge guy brings us endless fear. Lanterns flicker, rain pours down, secrets buried in this town. Clues are scattered, truths unfold, lies are shattered, stories told. Footsteps echo on the path, fear grows heavy aftermath. Cold eyes watching from the dark, lost in silence leaves its mark. Who is he? The bridge guy hides in the corners where darkness rides. Unseen, felt he's always near. Bridge guy brings us endless fear. Ooh, 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 ooh. Who is he? The bridge guy hides in the corners where darkness rides. Unseen but felt he's always near. Bridge guy brings us endless fear. Lanterns flicker, rain pours down, secrets buried in this town. Clues are scattered, truths unfold, lies are shattered, stories told. Footsteps echo on the path, fear grows heavy aftermath. Cold eyes watching from the dark, lost in silence leaves its mark. Who is he? The bridge guy hides in the corners where darkness rides. Unseen but felt he's always near. Bridge guy brings us endless fear. Ooh, 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 ooh.
Okay. I just want to say one thing. I don't know what's right or what's wrong in this situation. I'm not a lawyer, okay? But I can tell you this. And it doesn't matter whether it's Richard Allen or any other case, okay? If you let in every conviction or confession without evidence of those people being there, you are biasing the jury, in my opinion. And that would mean that nobody would be convicted of these violent crimes. That is my opinion. There are reasons that confessions are not allowed into trials, especially without evidence. And you cannot tell me that just because these girls were found on Ron Logan's property, that confession should be allowed in. I do not agree with it. Absolutely do not.
Well, the confession never happened in the first place, so it shouldn't be allowed in. That's what I think on it. The confession never happened, so you can't let something in that didn't happen. If we did that, it's just all based on lies, and you can't let any lie in.
And the fact that Ron Logan isn't here to say that he never said that, or he said this and it was twisted to that.
So what if someone came out and says Richard Allen said he did it again, which people have,
Right.
but people say that's not credible.
Right.
It shouldn't be allowed in. I don't understand how that couldn't be allowed in, because he placed himself at the crime scene. Logan didn't. Logan placed himself somewhere else, lied about an alibi, but didn't lie about his whereabouts, lied about who drove where.
Once again, the box cutter thing, I don't know how to explain it, but it's not evidence without proof that Logan was on that bridge or at the crime scene at the time these murders took place.
Allow Richard Allen's confessions because he corroborated by himself by saying he was there. Other people saw him there that he said he saw. He said he saw a van. I mean, there's plenty of things to suggest why we should corroborate his statements. I mean, the fact that he called his wife and mom and basically pleaded with them and told them, I'm begging you to listen to me. I'm telling the truth. They're not screwing with me. I'm not going crazy. They're not doing anything to me. I did this. And we heard those conversations.
Yeah, we did.
And he said it. And he sounds convincing. It's not just some dude going, yeah, I did it, man. No, he's distraught. He's trying to confess to his family and they're not wanting to hear it. He's sad when he's saying it.
And we actually have that person saying these things, not another person stating that he said these things. This is his own voice in his own words saying these things. So why should I not believe what I'm hearing from his own voice?
Exactly. And he does stand by those confessions now. And you'll eventually see that. He's still... How come nobody contacts Richard Allen and asks him questions?
Right. Well, he's not going to talk.
He'll talk. All you have to do, all people have to do is reach out to that guy. He'll talk. He's willing to talk to anybody. 100 confessions, 61 of them direct. Richard Allen will talk to people. No one reaches out to him. They just speculate on what he says. But if people reached out to him, I think they'd probably find something a little bit differently. People should just start reaching him. DOC. I'll post how you get a hold of him on there. See what he says to you.
Put it on. Send it to me. I'll contact him.
Connect Network. I'll show you exactly how to do it. And anybody else too. I'll show you exactly what it does. His lawyers don't want him to talk, but they're not his lawyers anymore. He's got an appellate lawyer.
Good point.
You know, and they didn't want him to talk in the first place, and he still did. So, I mean, that's just that. You know, and people are like, well, isn't he under a gag order? Yeah, but I mean, he's the guy on trial, so I'm sure he didn't give a shit. That ultimately convicted him.
Yeah, his own statements is what convicted him.
At least according to one juror, she said that was part of the reason they couldn't get past the fact that he wasn't bridge guy.
Right.
I mean, if they all thought he was bridge guy, he committed the murders.
His wife just wants him home. Yeah, she does.
And a lot of people said, well, why would he go to trial if he's guilty, if he said he was guilty? Well, because put it this way, what if you were locked in the bathroom all day and someone says, listen, you have a 50-50 chance of either getting out of this bathroom or staying here for the rest of your life. Which one are you going to take? You're going to take that chance and maybe go home. No matter what, even if you did do it, you still want to go home.
And he does have appellate lawyers. They've been assigned to him.
They were assigned from the day of sentencing. She appointed them.
We know their names.
It's a female and a male. One of them's already worked on the case. What's his name? What's that guy's name? What's the guy's name? Mark Lehman.
Yeah.
We weren't on the jury, but you know what? We were there seeing pretty much everything that they saw, except for a few things. So, I mean, Richard Allen, I know Richard Allen's guilty. He was found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt by members of a jury. I've been saying it for a long time. I even have a video posted from February 4th last year saying this guy's going to be found guilty, guaranteed. And he is found guilty. And mark my words today again, this guy will get a denied appeal.
I can do that too. I'll try to get hold of Ricky Davis.
Ricky Davis, exactly. Another person, Keegan Klein. I want to know more about all this other stuff, because I think that there is a link here, and that's why these things are sealed. There were still 136 pages of that probable cause affidavit that never was released. Never was released. And they were like, no, because we think other bad actors in there. Then they came out and said they don't think, but they're allowed to lie. So I think that they're still working on that genealogy stuff, which they said they were waiting for advanced technology to be able to test those hairs and that other samples that they had, and they didn't have enough until they were able to clone it. So they're still trying. They're still going to identify that, and it may take a while for that, but new technology is going to give us more answers to this.
And I'm hoping that they will figure out a way to get this DNA tested to find out once and for all who this belongs to.
Exactly. And it may not be Richard Allen. It may be an accomplice. It may not be an accomplice. It may be an innocent bystander, but it's someone's.
With all the advancements made every month, day, year, something's got to give.
I agree. But hey, I'm going to have to roll out of here.
Yeah, I am too. Like, we've been on for 3.5 hours. I still need to get some stuff done before I go to sleep. I know it's even an hour later where you are. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Like I said, everyone is welcome here in the chat. Not all of us are going to agree. We're going to butt heads. We're going to have different opinions and thoughts. You don't have to agree with the person that disagrees with you. But we just need to act like an adult. And if you don't like what somebody's saying, there's 3 dots next to their name. You can block them so that you don't see their comments.
Or you can be respectful and debate respectfully, and let them say their piece, and you say your piece, and that's just what we do. That's just basically the point of all this.
But do it like adults. You know, yes, things get heated. I get emotional real quick. That's how I respond. But all of us do, but we can try to do it respectfully too.
Exactly. So I can go ahead and close it out. So I've got a thing I made that's kind of like a quick banter back and forth to close this out on kind of where we were today.
My mods have been told that. So if something happened and you think that you were timed out or something, you can email me at beyondtheevidence1@gmail.com. Let me know who timed you out or banned you and why you don't think it was right. And I will look at it and I will make sure once again I talk to the mods. I know that Andrea is very good at letting you guys go, discussing things. She knows what I want and how I feel about that. So I'll make sure that once again all the other mods know too, and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, I guess that goes for me too. If you guys haven't yet, go over and subscribe to the True Crime Rewind podcast at True Crime Rewind podcast right on YouTube. It's on Spotify and Apple as well. Go find me there. Subscribe to my new channel, and I'll let you know what's going on from there, everybody.
I'll be back very soon. We are going to start up the Tabitha Shuck Rains case again. I am going to be reading the book, What Happened to Tabby, because a lot of people have asked for copies of that book, and the author's no longer getting back to them. So I'm going to start that. And we've got some trials coming up here that are pretty big. And so we're going to start going over those cases for those trials as they come up this year. And there's other stories that we really seriously need to talk about. And one of those stories is the Michael Vaughn case and the Caleb Collins case, which is going to be coming to you soon. So watch out for that. I've also been obtaining documents on the Maddie Soto case and Stephen Stearns, his trial's happening. So we're going to start going over that and anything that may come up in the meanwhile. So,
Okay, and my goal, everybody, is to try to get to some of these places and be on scene during these trials and rough it if I have to, but get you guys the footage and ask questions that you guys want. That way we can have two people going to or one person covering, one person being there and actually getting some questions and answers if we can. So that's my ultimate goal, is to be the traveling guy and just try to gather as much stuff as I can for you guys, what you're interested in.
If you guys have a specific case, missing persons, or trial that you want us to cover, send me an email at beyondtheevidence1@gmail.com. I'm trying to keep everything in a calendar. I'm trying to keep Anthony in the know of what's coming up when, and we're going to try to cover as much of this as possible and still keep up with the Delphi case.
Yeah, because it's not all about Delphi. This case is over, and we should move on.
Yeah, there are a lot of other victims and families that need our help and to get their stories out there. And so we're gonna start working on those other cases.
Exactly. All right. Well, I can close this out whenever you're ready to go. This video is about 5 minutes long, and it gives you guys some information.
All right, everybody. As you know, here at Beyond the Evidence, justice matters for every family member, for every victim. Please join me. I will let you all know on the community page and the Facebook group and Discord when I'm going live next. Have a good night.
On that note, everybody, I'm Anthony Greeno here at True Crime Rewind. Until next time, y'all keep it Southern style. See you guys tomorrow night.
2 young lives tragically cut short. A conviction that still raises more questions than answers. Tonight, we're going deep into the Delphi Murders case. The investigation, the trial, and the fight to overturn a 130-year sentence. Buckle up, because we're dissecting evidence, exposing inconsistencies, and challenging the official story. Richard Allen, the so-called bridge guy, was convicted in a case filled with procedural errors, unreliable testimony, and forensic mysteries. But is this really the end of the story? Or just the beginning of a legal battle that could change everything? Let's start with what we know, the polygraph test that debunked the Ron Logan confession. It never happened. Just like the Odinist theory, another false lead, shifting the focus away from the real case, and yet people still push these conspiracy theories. You've heard the craziest claims. White supremacist Norse Vikings, Vinlander bikers, corrupt Carroll County cops, all supposedly part of some ritualistic sacrifice in the woods. But here's the thing, white supremacists don't murder white girls as sacrifices. That theory never held up. And in court, it completely collapsed. But the rumors keep spreading. Alternative suspects, secret societies, a supposed cover-up? We've heard it all. But what does the actual evidence show? Tonight we're diving into the facts, taking your questions, and setting the record straight. The phone lines are open. You're live on Investigation Unsolved. What's your question?
Hi, Greeno. Do you think new evidence could overturn Richard Allen's conviction?
Hi, Greeno. Do you think new evidence could overturn Richard Allen's conviction? Great question. The defense has made some bold claims, and if they hold up, we could be looking at a retrial. This case is far from over. But remember, the Logan confession never happened, and this is a shady defense team.
Hi, Anthony. Thanks for letting me call in. This question is posed for anyone, really. If you're not convinced Richard Allen is the killer, why not? A jury upheld and agreed.
That's something a lot of people wonder about. There were alternative suspects, shadowy figures, and yes, even the so-called cult theories. But in court, those theories collapsed. Under scrutiny, our justice system is founded on accountability, transparency, truth, and justice. And a panel of 12 jurors upheld their civil duty and felt that the state proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Richard Allen was Bridge Guy and was guilty of murder.
The Delphi Murders case has haunted true crime followers for years, and now, with Richard Allen behind bars, the debate continues. The trial was filled with controversy, contradictions in testimony, forensic doubts, and legal missteps, and yet the jury found him guilty. But is that the end of the story? Richard Allen's defense team isn't giving up. They're arguing that the evidence was mishandled, that procedural errors may have influenced the outcome, and that key details still don't add up. If these claims hold weight, we could be looking at a retrial, an appeal, or even an overturned verdict. And then there's the misinformation. The polygraph results that supposedly pointed to Ron Logan, debunked. The Odinist theory? Zero evidence. The idea that an underground network of Vinlander bikers, Norse Vikings, and corrupt Carroll County officials were part of a conspiracy? Baseless. Theories like these need solid evidence, and that's something they just don't have. The jury's verdict was based on the case presented in court. They weighed the facts and delivered a guilty verdict. That's the system we have. But as more information surfaces, the legal battle is far from over. So, let's talk about what's next. Can Richard Allen's legal team prove their case? Will this conviction stand, or are we heading toward another shocking twist in this case? Keep watching, because we're breaking it all down live.
I stumble through the quiet halls of time. Your laughter echoes in my mind. Every corner holds a piece of you. In the shadows where the light breaks through. Photos fading, but your smile remains. And every tear and every drop of rain, a whisper on the